Just one big joke. It's a fucked up world. Here we are in. I ain't going nowhere.
And what's going on, people? And I know that was a very long pause before this episode started. Disappointed in Google. I actually thought that this was like a sign that one of us was going to get kicked too. But welcome back to the Reason Reborn, episode 36. We took a week off because somebody decided they needed to go to Texas for work.
That's what happened. Somebody decided.
Yeah. It was all his choice. He never even batted an eye. I was like, I'm going to Texas.
It's just been my dream. Yeah.
I'm here with the number one cowboy, Cardiacsumo. I'm sure you bought yourself a like 10-gallon hat.
I didn't buy shit, man.
You buy a cowboy hat? Really?
No. I'm not one of those thirsty motherfuckers who like buy a cowboy hat, slap on those boots, and go at it.
Yeah, I tend to. Okay, so this is going to be an aside, guys. It's been a couple of weeks. You have to bear with us because we have to like work our way up to the mass amount of fuckery that we have to talk about in this episode. So, question: when you go on vacation, are you that person that buys a lot of souvenirs?
I never buy anything.
I tend to buy stuff for other people more than myself. Like I will get the, I guess, shot glass or refrigerator magnet, but I don't never feel too compelled. It usually is like I'm on vacation, I'm somewhere, and the person that I'm with, or if I'm with someone, tends to go, "Don't you want to get something to take back?" And I'll go like, "Okay, fine, I'll get something," because asking me this question over and over again, so I'll get something. Fine. I never feel myself super compelled to buy souvenirs unless it's for someone.
I tend to find the souvenirs kind of tacky looking anyway, though. They're not even like stylish. Like it's not like a sexy shirt or awesome jacket. It's usually just like, I went to New York. I got you this New York cup.
Yeah.
Cool.
I will say this: where I used to work, the Spy Museum, they actually did make a concerted effort of making fashionable shirts or stuff that you would want to take home that wasn't just totally tourist. They do some clever stuff. It's funny because I worn a lot of those shirts on this podcast. Like the Budget Ninja costume shirt was clever. Yeah. Or the one that had the like, code in it where it says something about, I forget what it says now. Shit, I should know this because I used to have to hawk the shit for years. But it's like inside the like words on there, it was something about telling the truth. It says I'm lying. It was like they would try to do clever things like that, at least. But yeah, most places is hokey as shit. So that's why I never
understand why people are always like, why don't you get the souvenirs? Because they're ugly and low quality. Like they're not objects that catch your eye.
Yeah, no, they tend not to want to give you the most quality. It's just like you get something cheap that's a reminder of where you've been. Like, okay, these pictures or that fact that couple of $100 missing from my goddamn account because I decided to go somewhere. A reminder enough.
If you're an adult and you got bills, you're gonna be reminded for a couple.
Exactly. So I will remember this trip. Okay. But okay. Enough stalling.
I was away, and now I'm back, and I'm not to brag, but I'm officially a Texan. I roped a bull.
Why would you even want to acknowledge being a Texan? Sorry, people from Texas. Okay. But why the fuck would you ever want to acknowledge being Texan of the shit that goes on in that state? Oh my god, I'd be embarrassed.
Because it makes you seem
unless you're white, you should be embarrassed to be from Texas.
So all the black people from Texas should be
all the blacks and Spanish, like, god damn it, I'm in the state that hates me. Why am I here?
Remember, everybody, send your bullets Mike's way.
Yeah. Hey, look, you got fucking Mark Rubio talking about why are we using curse words, trying to act prim and proper as his like fucking like Lord and Master is out here cursing people to fuck out left and right every day. Whatever. Texas is full of shit and full of people who are full of shit. We know this, okay? Except for Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's awesome. Plus, he can really hurt me. He can really hurt me. So, yes, He's all no. Any wrestler from Texas just about gets a pass.
I like how we had to throw, Mr. Rubio up in the face over here. Right? It's not nice.
What fuck?
As a Floridian, I take offense to that.
He's not a fucking Floridian.
But he's one of our senators.
Yeah, he's one of your senators, but he's a Texas prick. So.
We like to not acknowledge that he exists here. So.
Fun fact, yeah, I wouldn't either. Fun fact, a friend of mine works for his wife, oddly enough.
So you got that political in when you're ready to, start up your campaign.
No, I would never try to lean on the Rubios for support. I'd go to McConnell first. At least he has power.
I mean, yeah, he's got all the strength in this turtle shell he can muster.
Exactly, turtle power.
Dude.
We already started on the wrong foot. Okay, so while you were gone on your Texas shenanigans, lots of stuff happened. A lot of stuff that I can't even remember because I think my brain just started to.
I was about to say, how are we starting off on the wrong
collapse
when we're about to step into a pile of shit?
Yeah, exactly. My brain kind of collapsed around the weight of this whole fuckery that's been going on. And we don't necessarily have an agenda. We just are vamping on just different things that just kept occurring. Like, why can't he just relax? Well, it's a holiday coming up, people. Happy 4th of July, by the way, if you celebrate it. Or happy Juneteenth, since we missed that for all us black folks. Our Independence Day. I still find that funny how people the Juneteenth thing kind of bothers me because it's just yay, thank you, Lincoln, for doing that, I guess. Anyway, did you celebrate Juneteenth, by the way?
No. But I'm also
not celebrating.
I'm also not celebrating the 4th of July. So
I am. I'm celebrating the fact that I have a day off and I don't have to go to work.
If you count that as a celebration, then sure, I'm celebrating. But I'm only vaguely familiar with the Juneteenth concept.
It's the day that we were actually given our freedom. So, of course, you heard about the Emancipation Proclamation, but it wasn't ratified until sometime in June, and that was when they finally came and told us, yeah, you're officially free. Part of it was because some slave states kind of didn't want to admit to freeing slaves until they could finish their crops and shit like that. So it was kind of like, okay, we'll let them go, but can we keep them a couple of weeks while we get this merchandise out to the market? Okay, thank you.
I meant that I don't know why it's called Juneteenth.
Because it was June 19th. So, quote unquote, clever play.
It's not clever at all.
No, it's not. It really is not clever at all. But
it's the opposite of clever.
But it's hey, they were slaves. Education hadn't been given to them by then, so call it as best as you can at that point. Sorry, we tried.
Fair enough.
But yeah.
Well, happy that thing that I refuse to say to you guys. I'm not letting that shit pass my mouth. But,
Juneteenth.
Congratulations, you're not slaves anymore. I mean, I guess you're still slaves in the larger societal sense that we're all slaves, but you're free.
Oh my God, this is gonna be a fun episode. I missed this. So yeah, so we had that, and now it's the 4th of July where this is the Independence Day. Even though it wasn't the Independence, all you fucking did was just write a letter saying we want to be free, and then you waited a couple of years, hoping and praying that you could survive enough to win this war. With the help of the French, you finally did it. Then you got your independence. So this day is not Independence Day. This is just a declaration day. I'm free. No, you're not. I said I'm free, but you're not yet. Okay, well, let's just say I'm free today, and we'll worry about this over the next 2-3 years of the war, because you're getting your ass whipped up to this point. By the way, so Remember, I've studied history, people. I know this for a fact.
I feel like you don't want the black community to like you.
Well, no, I'm not going after the black community. I'm going after the white community at this moment because this is the day where everybody swears was America's independence. And again, this was like the midpoint of the war where you were tragically getting your ass whipped, by the way, by the British. So
now you don't want America to like you.
Happy inspire us to turn the tide day. All right. So we ain't gonna get no views on this episode. I've already established that firmly. Black people ain't gonna watch. White people ain't gonna watch. So
I'm pretty sure America isn't gonna watch because you just said we were getting our shit pushed in by the British. So,
but we were.
And you said it on July 3rd, on the eve.
The day before somebody came up with the idea of posting that note. I know, like, please believe we're gonna do this.
It's not very American. That's all I'm gonna say about it.
I know, and as someone who's a staunch historian who worked in very historical American places and have spent time around people who love and appreciate these type of events and moments, I should feel ashamed of myself, but I'm going to blame the alcohol and leave it at that. Yeah, it's the alcohol talking.
Yeah. All those other times he's a dick. Don't worry about that. This time it's the alcohol.
Yeah, I get an excuse. I'm celebrating. I'm so happy and joyous over the occasion. Okay.
Anyway.
All right. Seriously, serious business. So a lot of stuff has gone on. So much that I couldn't keep track while he was gone because I was just like kind of numb while you were gone. And I did my best not to send you anything. I hope I didn't really send you much while you were away.
I almost wish it would have because I was dreadfully bored.
I don't know if you would want to be bored and angry though, because there was a lot going on during that week and a half. We had the immigration fiasco, of course, which
continued. It's not new.
It's still continuing. Like it's the never-ending story where you had Trump, like going back and forth with people over whether or not he should reunite families and making declarations that maybe we shouldn't put these families back together until we get a wall and a deal. And it's the Democrats' fault that I'm holding kids hostage to get what I want.
So quick question on that. Quick question. Do you feel like he regrets doing this? Because unlike a lot of other things, where he's just kind of shooting at the hip, and it might backfire on him a little bit, but it kind of exits the news cycle, within a week or two. This has been fairly energizing to a lot of his enemies, and it's been pretty persistent for the last couple weeks in the news cycle. Like it's this annoyance that he created that's not going away as quickly as other things do. You think he's suffering that pain in the ass? I don't know.
I think the only thing that I think bothers him is that ultimately it didn't work. I don't think he's suffering because I think in his mind, the fact that he's like, all right, I will let you reunite the kids because I'm a good guy. Like the way he frames things, he clearly has no care as to how bad it looks because he'll take credit even when it's not his call. It's like he literally made it sound like he was being this pragmatic, gracious, giving leader when he just declared that he was signing the order to not separate kids with their families. He made it sound as if I really probably shouldn't have did it. And there were so many people telling me not to do it, but I reached deep in my heart and said, you know what, this is the right thing to do. A week after he clearly stated, maybe I'll let him back if you give me my wall. So no, I don't think he feels like he's suffered anything. Maybe his administration feel like he's taken a blow, like anybody who may have been around him who has some lick of sense may feel that way, but him himself, no, he's going to, whitewash it so he can make himself look like he's coming out smelling like roses, even though he's not.
That's depressing because I figured at the very least it would have been an unusual annoyance for him to have to deal with. I mean, he deals with shit. Oh, I shouldn't say he deals with shit like somebody's unfairly attacking him, but he pisses off a lot of people fairly frequently, and he does it with such speed on so many different topics. It's easy for us to just like get rid of it in the news cycle. So I don't think it bothers him too much because he just has to wait a day or two and then we stop talking about it. But we have not stopped talking about this at all. So I figured at least it might be getting under his skin a little bit, minorly annoying something. Shit.
It's probably sort of an annoyance because he has to constantly hear about it, but at the same time, he's not going to acknowledge it because, again, given his personality, even if it does bother him, he's going to try to frame it or at least pretend in a way that, no, I'm good. In fact, I'm annoying you because if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't be doing this. So I win. He has a weird ability to always somehow frame things to look like it happened and it's positive because he did it. He takes no responsibility whatsoever. So to say that you're wrong is just foreign to him. He's not going to take that responsibility.
Okay, I can agree with that. I was about to disagree when you said he has this weird ability because it kind of implies that he's doing it successful. Well, it's not successful to most of us. He just looks like a psycho, but I
that's
guess
the
it's
thing.
successful to
In
enough
his
people.
mind, it is, and to people who like him, it's successful because at the end of the day, no matter how much flack this guy is getting, he's still fucking standing.
Bulletproof Trump, baby.
You know what I mean? It's like he may not necessarily get his way on everything, but he's able to do so much and not get away with it, so to speak. He's not held accountable for anything. So to him, sure, it's like, fuck it. I'll poke the bear as much as I want to because the bear's never going to swipe at me. That's his mindset at this point.
It's not wrong, I guess. I mean,
yeah, because
at this point, it's not wrong.
Now, other than Maxine Waters, who's truly poked at him?
You mean low IQ Maxine?
Yeah, I guess.
Is that the term he's using now? Yeah, it must be like low IQ.
Yeah, he keeps talking about her IQ and like, bruh, she can like talk circles around you any day on any subject, I'm sure.
It just seems like such a weird way to say stupid, like low IQ. Like nobody uses a term like that, first of all.
It's childish. It's like all you can say is you're stupid head. You fucking 6-year-old. That's it.
It certainly is, but I think it's also ironic, and I'm not just saying this because I don't like him, but he's generally considered to be fairly low IQ himself. So it's just rather ironic that he keeps doing that.
Yeah, he's a weird person. He's in charge of a goddamn country.
A country? As though it's like some small little thing in the middle of Europe or something.
Yeah, no, because I'm sorry. We cannot acknowledge the United States as a powerful, influential country anymore. It's a wrap at this point.
Dark
Until we get some better leadership, it's a wrap. Our star is fading. People don't want to admit this, but the United States star, the only reason the United States has any weight is because other countries have debt with us. That's it. And we owe more countries than we have, like, who owe us. So, no.
Dark turns. Super sad.
No, we're middle. We're becoming quickly middle of the pack, at least.
I mean, you can wait till after the 4th of July to be saying this type of shit, man.
Don't worry. This probably won't post. Actually, I should post it on the 4th of July.
God damn.
Hey, I'm off. I have the time to do the editing. in the like rendering. I can certainly have it like at the Spangled Show. In fact, I should do that after we record. Not only post it, but post it at a key moment. Like when is the? I live in Washington D.C. I know the schedule. I should find the schedule of the 4th of July ceremonies and just post it right when that shit's supposed to happen.
Just can you just go back and edit?
By the way, the opinions and these opinions are not reflective of Cardiacsumo. Don't come at him. Just come at me.
I mean,
drunk, so I won't remember
but
it.
they
just
kind of are. So
no, they're not. They're not reflective of you. You have your own opinions and you have your own mind.
I don't.
Okay, let me frame it this way to help you out. I purposely made him do this show against his own will. So there.
Yes, I'm a hostage. You all think I'm like in a different room somewhere, but I'm like sitting right in front of him right now, and I'm just like chained down. And he has the background. It's just a green screen back here. You know,
I am blackmail. Yeah, this guy. I have a machete to his neck right now.
But I don't know if we were hopping off of the whatever we were talking about at first. I think it was the immigration stuff we were.
Yeah, it was the immigration stuff. No, because the immigration stuff we have a lot to go on. So, part of it is, of course, Trump did reverse his way of thinking after going on rants in consecutive days about how like the Democrats were obstructing, him putting families back together because they won't give him his wall, and all they have to do is give him the wall, and he'll put families.
But I like how he wasn't blatantly saying that out loud as much as because he usually framed it like the Democrats gave us these laws that we have to enforce, and if they want to fix it, they should, Congress or whatever should fix it. Obviously, alluding to the fact that he wants what he wants out of it. I want my fucking wall, but he was always never saying it quite that way. He's always saying just blaming it as a historical fact on the Democrats, which I don't think is true either. But
no, because it wasn't a law that they established. It was actually a executive order he signed, which makes it even funnier.
New policy shit, but I don't know what to think about this dude. But I mean, yeah, he was clearly always doing this in order to gain some political advantage, whether it be for his border wall funding or whatever it might be. So, which I think was really one of the most disturbing things about this, that he was making such a cold, dark decision, taking such a ruthless tactic, really not giving a fuck about these families and just doing it for the sake of his own benefit, which doesn't surprise me from him, but it's still concerningly dark thing to do.
Yeah, no, because especially for his position, like we've had presidents that have done questionable things. And it's funny because I was listening to a podcast before, and they made a really good point about this. But it's not like America is devoid of moments where our leaders have done questionable things.
Sure.
That being said, I don't know if there's been that many. Well, there has been a couple of blatant incidents, but I don't know if there's been anybody who has been so quick to embrace like these horrible ideas and practices that they were willing to do. Most people, it was more of they do it, but they don't celebrate it, whereas they seem to celebrate it in this administration.
So what do you mean by celebrate it? What do you mean when you say like celebrate it?
Kind of like how he talks about certain policies that people don't like. How he tries to frame it like, look, I'm just doing what's best for you, everybody. But these guys don't want you to like win. We're here trying to help you win. We're trying to make you better. We're doing everything we can, but these guys over here, they're like fucking crashing the party and not trying to, So when something positive happens, he starts to go even extra on it, like the job thing. Yeah, economy's changed itself around, even though this is something that's been going on for years, that was established from rules and regulations that he never touched. He kind of like says, like, you know, I'm out here making jobs for you guys and celebrating how, and I'm trying to make things better, but they don't want us to make it better. It'll be much better if you fucking get behind me and what I want, because what I want is what's best for you. And all I'm thinking about is what's best for you. So let's do what's best for all of us people, even though it's not necessarily best for all of us. He kind of like, he party promotes, basically. You know, that's what I mean by celebrate. He's like, he's basically that DJ that gets on the radio and gives the hype promo.
It does feel odd. I remember somebody in the news saying, like, or maybe it was an article mentioning something like, you know, Trump is back in campaign mode or whatever. And I was like, when did he stop being in campaign mode?
He never has.
24/7. He still does rallies all the fucking time. He never stopped and continues to this day. And even that, you know, promotion thing he does, it's so schizophrenic. It doesn't make any sense to me how our economy could be so deep in the shitter and nobody has jobs and all this stuff. Yet he's talking about these record highs and jobs and stuff at the same time. Like,
well, and to be fair, jobs have come up. There are more available jobs now. But it's again one of those like misnomers, because yeah, people are getting hired a lot more, but the pay rate and, you know, things like that, and the availability of healthcare for these jobs, like people are able to find a job, but they're not able to survive. So it's like, yeah, congratulations, there's more jobs, but people still are struggling to live.
Certainly, but I don't ever feel like that's what he's pointing out when he does this.
No, it's not what he's pointing out, because he doesn't have that broad of a thought spectrum.
Because the issue I was pointing out was the dual nature of what he's always saying. It's not even just with the economy, it's with lots of stuff. This idea that everything is fucking terrible, but it's also great because of us at the same time. Like,
just like that, and this, oh my god, we had to talk about this. I don't know if we're gonna talk about this on camera, but I happen to be watching CNN at the moment of doing this. I don't know why. I feel like I'm just adding insult to injury for myself, and something big is being floated around news-wise that I'll touch on.
I'm
in a bit.
Scared to hear what it is.
Oh, I don't know if it's scary, but it definitely is interesting. Woo, son. Anyway, but yeah, no. So it's interesting with this immigration thing, how the battle has gone, because it's a very big thing. Of course, we had the thing with Melania and the "I don't care, do you" jacket fiasco.
Sure.
Which the tackiness of that, and then you start getting all these other reports about how more children are even like missing in the system, and you know, things like that, and all these harrowing stories about this. It's really, really weird, because as tough of a week as it's been with that might not be the worst news to come out from this administration, if you think about it, which is sad. Like, okay, from your perspective, this whole immigration debate, how do you what do you think it would be the quote unquote happy solution to this?
What this are you referring to? Just the
as far as like getting DACA back on board, like, because there's a lot of legislation that has been kind of held up in this whole bickering over the wall and, you know, separation of children, all that. At the heart, the immigration problem still persists. You know, so what is the end game? Because we've had a couple of legislative documents come up from the Republicans that have got squashed over the last couple of weeks as well.
I guess first, do we have to conflate like DACA with the rest of this stuff? Like, I know we do that right now in practice because it's kind of used as this bargaining chip with other things.
Yeah.
But are we not able to consider that separately from what's going on at the border? not just now, but generally our issues with border stuff.
I agree. We should. I think that's a failing of the way things work these days. Is that, and I kind of talked to you about it. I don't know if it was earlier today or yesterday about problems with, especially with on the liberal side, about being able to wait and take care of something first before you get to the next thing. There seems to be no real effort to focus in and hone in on one particular thing and getting that squared away before you move on and attack the other thing. It's like everything has to be done now, all rolled up in a lump, which is kind of dangerous to me because when you roll things together, you kind of short the other thing as a way of getting that, opposite thing in the right balance that you want.
But I guess in fairness to this particular moment, Trump does help make that an issue because he's always conflating multiple issues together. Like, I know when he talks, he's always conflating DACA with, the immigration issue, even with that kids' food program last year. Like, he loves to string them all together as a way to fuck with the libtards over there. But so I can see why, even if you wanted to just talk about them separately, it might be challenging, given the rhetoric right now. Maybe I shouldn't even just say him, like he's the only one that does it, but in general, it becomes very hard to think about separate issues in their own separate realms. Like, they all get lumped in together, which I think is part of the complication of the issue, because it's like the immigration stuff is already a difficult problem. I don't think we need to add the extra layer of complication that comes with considering DACA on top. I can see a disagreement with that, though, because it's not like completely separate, but
yeah, but no, there's aspects of the whole situation that you need to address first. It's just like we've been getting a lot of people railing on how ICE needs to be dismantled. A couple of people politically and just privately think it's time for it to go. They have no benefit to here, even though ICE's intent wasn't probably ever to be used the way that they're being used now, which is kind of funny how it got there. So
we were talking about this a little earlier. I don't understand that instinct where it's like, if there's a problem somewhere, we see a flaw. In this case, we got to break the ice. We always got to smash up something, right? I don't understand this compulsion to just blow up everything the second you spot a problem. Like, even the ice thing, I don't think that that's a fair reaction, because right now what I think that is an emotional reaction to seeing children in cages right now, which is certainly something you ought to have an emotional reaction to. It's not good, but if that's what you're reacting to, is that fair? Because this problem wasn't there at such a high level, at least until pretty much that new policy went into place. I mean, I'm sure kids and their families were separated in other means. That, like, there's actual reasons to do that. Sometimes the people the kids are with are not safe. You got to establish that. It's not like you should never do it. But what I think people are reacting to right now is just like the massive increase in number of how much that is happening. And they're seeing the stress on the system that's not really built to handle that many children at once. So if that's what they're reacting to, I don't think it's fair to say, well, fuck guys, get it out of here, because it's not really their fault that they're in this position right now.
yeah, like even if it is like a culture of racism and bigotry within the realms of ICE, that wasn't its intent, and that's not how it's supposed to be utilized. So getting rid of this whole thing sounds nice, it's very romantic, but I'm not sure.
Sounds lazy to me. Like, it's like if you see a math problem on a piece of paper and your solution is to crumple it up and throw it in the garbage. Like,
but yeah, it is definitely very lazy. That's how we tend to view things these days. It's like the quickest solution that seems the most satisfying to me is the best way to go. Whereas, sometimes taking a little time to research and study kind of helps in the long run.
And like you said, it's come out of a few people now. Not, I guess the last person I heard it from was probably the that Cortez lady. Congrats to her. But I think I heard it from like Gillibrand and fucking. It's not like, I don't know how popular it is, but it's not an extremely rare idea that I've only heard from one person.
No, it's been said by a few people. It's funny because a main majority of them are Bernie Sanders supporters, which I find hilarious because it's like, oh, y'all want to be stupid like he is. Cool.
Hey, man, that dude has a glorious head of hair.
And that's the best you can say about him. He's going to be governor of his state, so ain't he running for governor?
Sure, you can say plenty. I mean, he's passionate. He seems to give a shit. You can say plenty of positive things.
Yeah, no, he's just...
Especially if you were to compare him to the president. Like, there's plenty of good stuff there. But
he's just inspired like a nation full of dumbasses, but hey, that's fine.
Democratic socialism is the wave of the future.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I say that, but is it a joke? Like, watch, man. Like by next year, that'll like have split the Democratic Party in half.
It is the flavor of the month. It is the flavor of the month. It has a huge fat like following enough to kind of shift the balance somewhat. But it's funny because I sent you the article where they talked about Cortez and her influence and influence. And I found that very, very fascinating because a lot of it I didn't think of myself. But yeah, that monumental shift that Democrats are waiting for, you might want to wait a little bit longer because, yeah, generally speaking, most people are happy with most of the general Democratic tenets, as opposed to like the more radical side. I feel like people want some of that stuff, but in a more rational means, if that makes sense.
I think the more radical stuff is emotionally appealing. Like, if you're not thinking about it too deeply, then it seems like new and energetic and fresh, which I understand the feeling. I'm not even like, I poked fun at the democratic socialism thing. I'm not really shitting on it that hard or anything. It's just, I think if you were to, if you took away the word Democrat and just, propped up some core ideology from them, I think most people would just agree with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think most people are in stark opposition to Democratic Party values unless they are aware that it is a Democrat saying it.
Yeah, no, it's a weird thing that people are buying into this as the end-all be-all solution to life's problems, too. I don't know. I just don't know. But, yeah, I feel like this immigration thing's not going away anytime soon.
It's
because now this is just another place for him to try to exert his dominance over. It's like, yeah, it's not just about the border; it's about controlling the flow of people from other countries in and out. Type of thing it comes off as.
So the phrase keeps coming up in the news, but I do think it's important to harp on that this is what is the phrase? A crisis of their own making or whatever. Like, it's just so fucking stupid. And you can tell when you look at it that they just didn't really plan for any of this, right? Like, when you see the massive number of people being detained and whatnot, and they don't have enough judges to process these investigations, these trials, whatever, they don't have the proper resources, whatever, to deal with all these kids. Like, they just didn't even think about what would happen when they started enacting this zero tolerance policy. So you went to all the trouble of doing this, and then you didn't even prepare to fucking do it.
Yeah, see, that's one of the problems with having someone like Trump in charge, who's not a planner, who's not a thinker, who's not a strategist. It's definitely all about his whim and his will. So, like, funny, I kind of equate it to like my commute to work. There's a couple of options that I could take to go to work. Some technically are faster than others, some aren't. That being said, if I can get something done and try to like have a difference of like, a couple of minutes, with a couple of minutes for Trump being, if I can get enough people to be able to say, well, yeah, this isn't a bad idea, I'm good, but I keep going that course because I'm going to end up being at a satisfying destination. And I think that's how Trump looks at a lot of his policies and just the general sense of what you get from him when it comes to these type of issues. It's just
So I feel like
it feels like he feels he's assured to fuck up without consequences.
I don't feel like I agree with that sentiment on 2 points. First, I don't feel like he thinks he needs to get some number or portion of people to really agree with him. Because even on points where everybody's telling him no, he still says yes. And the second, I don't think he just feels free to fuck up. I think he's genuinely stupid enough to think that he's going to succeed when he does this stuff. Like, I don't think there's a doubt in his mind whether it comes to this immigration stuff, whether it comes to, trade and our global relations and stuff. I think he genuinely believes these are good ideas, despite the number of people who tell him they're not, which is scary to think about, but I think he really does believe that these are smart ideas and everybody else is just too stupid to understand.
Maybe. I don't know.
I hope I'm wrong and you're right, because I feel like your outlook is less alarming than mine is.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly, seriously don't understand the makeup of this thing. And guys, remember, this is just the first big major thing that's happened that we are talking about from the past 2 weeks, which should show you how fucking ridiculous these times are. So what do we attack next?
I mean, quickly to answer your earlier question about like what my solution thing at the border is, I guess I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of stupidity wrapped around in there, by which I mean, even just by this administration, there's so much stupid random shit on this pile that you have to pull off before you can even just look at the root issues and think about them. So I guess my answer is I just don't really know what the solution is. And I feel like the problem has been made that much more complicated by everything they're doing right now.
Well, what's telling about that is that I feel like in other administrations over the years, well, we may not have ever, any of us may not have never knew exactly what that needed to be done. I feel like there was some better certainty and understanding when people answered that question. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, even with like George Bush, there was still a sense that, something is going to get done. It may not be exactly what I want, but something's going to get actually done. I don't feel like anything ever gets done or completed or taken, to an area where over time it can be completed. You know what I mean?
So do you feel like, because I was thinking about this the other day, do you feel like it might now? Because when I was looking at this, situation we have with these kids being separated that need to be reunited with their families and stuff, not just within America, like on a global scale, this looks so fucking bad. It's like, it's not one of those problems we can just kind of ignore. Like when you have a sore shoulder, it's like, yeah, whatever, it's fine. Like, this is one of those issues now, especially because we're getting challenged on human rights by the UN and stuff, where I think you might feel an extra pressure to actually find some kind of a solution now. Not that there was no pressure before, but it's like, I feel like there are certain issues where the problems don't seem as salient to a lot of us. So it's okay to kind of ignore them a little bit. I wonder if
I don't
that's
even think that it's I think with some it is about ignoring it. As far as like wholesale ignoring. But I think with most of us, it's like, this is too much that I just don't want to deal with it.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like the whole immigration thing is a very, very hard thing to work on because there probably should be better regulations and things to what we do to let people in, but not to these extremes. And to figure out how to bring it back from the extremes that we're in makes it even worse because it's like, how are you going to get something done knowing that, like, as much as we hate Congress and government and all that, you have to have some sympathy for at least the ones out there who are truly trying to work hard to a solution. But no matter how good of a solution you come up with, you don't necessarily think it's going to work because wild card president might, who knows what the fuck he's willing to go with or not. There's too much uncertainty right now.
You never even know why sometimes that he goes these routes. He just kind of does. Yeah. I will say that I guess one of the frustrating things there is that I think a lot of us agree on general ideas about that, though. The idea that we should have security in the sense that we know who's coming in and out and blah, blah, blah. You know, an actual border sort of control. I don't think even most liberal people really disagree with that notion.
No.
So it's not even like we really disagree that much. I do think most people will look at the situation and be like, yeah, that's out of fucking control. There are people, some of them are fleeing horrible situations like in Honduras or Guatemala and shit. Like,
yeah.
I just look at some of the core issues in there. I just don't think on pretty much any of them we disagree that heavily. I do think there's some extreme, misrepresentation when Trump says things like, the Democrats, whatever, they want open borders. Ooh, name one. No, they don't. Right? That is just factually false. But when he makes it seem like there's a huge amount of crime coming in from over the border, there isn't. It's just as a matter of fact.
Yeah, like me and you talked about how I lived in a neighborhood that was considered a high capacity MS-13 area at one point, and it was more like a matter of months where this was an issue, a huge talking piece, but it can eventually fade away because generally speaking, it's usually not as bad as people try to frame it within the media.
But even outside of that, it's not like anywhere close to the majority of the people coming over the border right there are of MS-13 or gang members of any kind. They're usually, a lot of them are running away from violence. So they're not like these insane criminals that are just like pouring in and raping and murdering. Like there's just a lot of untruths around the issue, which I think is, again, another complication, is that there's just too many lies floating around about the truth of that situation.
Yeah, no, I mean, my God, this man just framed another country as like turning to shit. A country that he's probably never been to in his life. But he's talking about how shitty they are when it comes to immigrants. And he doesn't have clue one about like what's going on in Germany. Like, it's maddening. But no, it's just like, I feel like it's too much worrying about the us versus them aspect of handling things that it gets totally lost the what we need to do. It's like, this is an issue that needs to be addressed. Let's focus on the issue. Sure. But we're more focused on, well, Trump people want to do it this way, or liberals are just always doing it this way type thing. It's like, it works in people like his favor because he's just going to spit in whatever bullshit he can. He swears he's a salesman. He swears he's charming. And clearly that's the mantra of his whole administration, because they all seem to like speak in Trumpese.
I think that's a good tell of an effective leader, I guess, is when everybody else starts to take up your habits and your language.
Yeah.
It's a good sign that you're shaping things up. But I mean, yeah, the issue itself, I just bring that up to say, like, I don't know what the exact solution is, but given the fact that when you poll people, we really tend to agree a lot on those issues. I don't feel that a solution is that far out of reach.
No.
I feel like it's hard to see it because of all this extra bullshit there. But I do think it's there to be grabbed.
Yeah, no, like I said, I think it's mostly because of the whole us against them mentality that people need to make. Or like in his case, everything's a fucking competition. It's always a competition. It's not necessarily about what's best for people, but what makes me look best and come out on top. And
even when he was talking about the, fucking up his own policy or whatever, it was like, I didn't like the way it looked. I mean, felt. It's like, come on, bro. Really? We heard you. You said it. You didn't like the way it looked because it made you look bad, which is all you give a fuck about, which terrifying. And if you really cared about looking good, you wouldn't have your hair all crazy, but whatever. Cheap shot, I know. But I guess that could segue into any of the other issues you want to talk about from trade.
Oh man. God, let's talk about the trade, because the trade is oddly enough, and this is part of the sadness of the times we live in. Oddly enough, that seems to weigh more on me than the immigration thing. Not because I don't care about immigration, but I feel like it's been beaten into us so much that I'm starting to get numb to the pain. It's just a slight bit. And when I say numb to the pain, I'm not numb to the fact that these kids are in a fucked up position. It's more of I'm just so over constantly hearing about this.
Oh yeah, it is the major thing of the news cycle right now. Those definitely those kids, which for good reason, but it does.
And also, I just, like do a bit of self abuse. Sorry, so no, I went to Trump's fucking Twitter just to see, because the thing on CNN said he's been tweeting some crazy shit. So. Color me stupid for going and being.
What did he say?
What didn't he say? Okay, so like, take this one off for size. The Washington Post is constantly quoting anonymous sources that do not exist. Rarely do they use the name of anyone because there is no one to give them the kind of negative quote they're looking for. They are the disgrace to journalism, but then again, some are many others. Okay, first of all, do you know what a fucking anonymous source is? That's somebody who don't want you to know who the fuck they are.
And there's
unlike you, not everybody needs to have their name in the headlines when it comes to shit. Because you know what? Sometimes it's kind of good not for people to know what's going on in your life.
I mean, there are times, even if you want to get serious, there's times where that's like a safety issue. I mean, that could be like a career issue or something, but sometimes that's just a safety issue where you just don't reveal that information, which is important to fucking democracy, to be able to share information without worrying too much about your well-being.
If you're in fear of repercussions, sure, you be anonymous. Because while you're not supposed to catch flack in some cases, you will catch flack. Nobody's stupid. So yeah, I don't want my name being said. I'm not gonna snitch on, like, say if I lived in a neighborhood where there was somebody dealing drugs and the cops ask me who's the one dealing drugs. If I'm gonna snitch, I don't need you to put my name out, because that person will come down and fucking fuck me up. No, it's the same theory. It's like, I don't want to get fucked up off of this, so therefore, you fucking moron. God damn it.
I mean, some of the dangerous things about it, right? Like basic things about how to survive in a democracy just don't matter. Like, they don't even register as reasonable things. I took a look with you. I like the Harley Davidson tweet there.
Yeah. Like, no, Harley Davidson sales aren't down because of this. How are you trying to say it's because of U.S.? In 2017, Harley Davidson was entirely in the U.S. and they lost money, bruh. So what the fuck are you trying to say that them moving terror. What the fuck does them moving their makes no sense. No fucking sense at all.
I would like to point out that we're talking about the president of the United States here. So
yeah, that's the fucking.
It's worth remembering that it is the president of the United States attacking the press and businesses, which
like this just out that the Obama administration granted citizenship during the terrible Iran deal negotiation to 2,500 Iranians, including to government officials. How big and bad is that? What's bad about it? Excuse me,
a lot
sir.
of people.
Yeah, exactly. What is the bad thing?
Did they do something? Like what?
Like, I hate people who try to snipe, troll, or like this and can't even come up with anything good. Like, he's not even like remotely dropping bombs at all. Anything. I'm sure I could think of like 1,000,001 things that Obama did that I could like point out to him. And I like Obama.
Sure. It also smells mildly racist. It's like, I mean, we were doing the Iran deal and you gave 2,500 Iranian citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
Who did they kill? What did they do? Like, if he had said we gave 2,500 Iranian criminals or something, like,
or like, yo, this North Korea thing, and his thing is all over the map, by the way. Like all the different subjects, the shit about North Korea, sir, you're trying to say that they have no testing when all these intelligence agencies around the world are saying, yeah, they're still testing. That you're going to bat for these people who 6 months ago you were ready to fire rockets up their ass. What the fuck?
That is one of the fun things I've always fun things about Twitter or Trump's Twitter that I've always noticed is just how much he hops around from topic to topic within like an hour or so, just because he has to talk about fucking everything. Like if you say his name and you're not nice about it, he has to talk about it.
But nobody was saying his name. Everybody was saying North Korea is still testing. What does that have to do with you?
I mean, everything, because he keeps running his mouth about how great this is going. So maybe not his name in particular, but anything that has anything to do with him is going to catch his attention. But
I just don't get this, man. What were we actually talking about now?
I think we were about to hop into trade, which makes that
So
makes that Harley Davidson thing relevant. But I was trying to remember like what specifically drove them.
Specific to the trade is that he's of course been wrapping up his tariffs, including tariffs on metal, on steel, in particular. And of course, being a motorcycle manufacturing company, all his tariffs on iron and steel are making it harder for them. Because it's funny, we found out the interesting fact today that in a country that utilizes a lot of steel, this country doesn't actually produce enough steel to support everything that they need it for. Therefore, importing foreign steel and iron is very important. So charging these companies more to bring more of what we need is asinine, which is part of the reason why Harley Davidson made the announcement last week that they're going to start shifting a lot of their manufacturing to foreign countries to cut costs because of the tariffs.
Right. So I guess they'll be able to avoid the cost because that stuff won't be made in America and therefore not subject to their whatever tariffs are out there. Like, it's a sad way to get around this shit.
Yeah, they go to a country that is more agreeable and they'll give them better breaks and they'll manufacture and they'll just ship them because a lot of people tend to not think about it. But when he's saying tariffs, he's not charging people extra to have stuff shipped to their country. He's charging them extra to import things. And when you talking about imports are generally vital things. It's not like people just import stuff. It's not like, okay, if he wants to put tariffs on Chinese-made sex dolls, that's one thing. That's not a national need. For some it is, but it's not a national need. Okay, cool. But again, steel, iron, especially since we get a lot of that stuff from Canada and other places like that. That's a big deal because you're charging them to bring stuff to sell that we need.
Yeah, it's fairly stupid. And he knows that we have that supply issue because one of his excuses, I guess, when he was doing that shit with Canada was, these guys are a national security risk. We need to produce our own precious metals or whatever, so that, not precious metals, obviously. We need to produce our own metals, so if anything ever pops off, that face, though, like that.
Yo! That's okay. So continue, and we're gonna go on to what CNN is blessing us with right now. Oh my god, this is awesome! And I need to pull the video up for you. Continue.
That threw me off. Just that look on your face threw me off. I was just saying, he knows we have this supply issue because it was one of his attempts to try to justify this stuff with Canada, where he was like, if anything ever pops off, we need to be producing our own stuff. So he's fully aware that we have this problem, and yet he's still crippling our ability to import the metals we need now. It's stupid on every level imaginable. But I don't understand how this guy who is supposed to make jobs such a big deal, how he's fucking up the jobs. That's the one thing that, this rich asshole is supposed to care about, is fucking jobs. He makes
making America great again. Yeah.
And the people who supposedly support him, who are like, he's going to bring jobs, you watching him kick out. Before we hop on that thing, that fucking Harley Davidson thing, I don't think we read it out loud. Let's see. Now that Harley Davidson is moving part of its operation out of the U.S., my administration is working with other motorcycle companies who want to move into the U.S. Harley customers. Are not happy with their moves. Sales are down 70%.
Okay, and you know what's stupid about that? What are other American motorcycle companies, bro? Do you know who are the top-rated companies for motorcycles in this country? Generally speaking, it's Harley Davidson. It's Honda, which is not an American company. And I forget the other one. It's a European company. It just slipped my mind. But generally speaking, those three companies sell the most motorcycles in America. So,
the thing is, the way he's framing this, fucking Harley Davidson moving out of America, bruh, why are they doing it? Why are they doing it?
And they clearly stated it's it's going to cost us more to manufacture because it's going to raise up costs. So instead of raising prices of product, we're going to move someplace else. Now, yeah, does it fuck up the economy because jobs are going to be lost? Yeah, but again, he, out of everybody, knows this best. You're going to do whatever you need to make your business survive and thrive because you do it all the time yourself, Trump. So stop faking and acting like you're mad at them for making this move. You knew what you were going to do, what you were doing when you did this, because you wouldn't do the same thing. Because you did the same thing when you used to complain about how harsh Obama was on American companies and shit like that. So let's not pretend like we didn't forget how you didn't like it when Obama wasn't protecting people and they came up with the new banking laws and all of this. So
is he doing this legal, by the way? I'm not saying he's taking a very clear and firm stance, but the way he's just shitting on yet another business that pissed him off and is claiming well, we're going to side with these businesses now and blah, blah, blah. There is some very uncomfortable reaching from our president into the business realm to move shit the way he wants.
Yeah, because it shows that he's showing favoritism. He's openly. It's not necessarily illegal, but well, let me put it this way. There are some legal things to a president using the government to influence the success or the downfall of a company. You aren't supposed to necessarily meddle, which he's not necessarily hands-on meddling, but what he's doing is that he is maneuvering with these comments, making veiled threats that he will kind of use policy to fuck with certain people.
But he's not like from his
Like,
war with
because it's
Bezos.
not like him necessarily just writing a bunch of executive orders and doing it. He's done that, of course, but he's kind of like trying to set it up to where if he gets enough people on board in Congress, he can he's basically exerting his influence in a negative way, trying to get them to back certain things.
I guess that's what makes him comfortable, because you go from his war with Bezos and his companies to even smaller things, like when Sanders was kicked out of that restaurant and he's calling that restaurant filthy and all this shit, to now this thing. Like, he should not be influencing shit that way. Somebody needs to slap his hand and make him stop. He's the president. What he says matters, and he cannot be just influencing the business realm with his heavy hand like this. And I would think the business-loving motherfuckers, the Republicans, would be the ones who hate this the most. I'm sure they don't like it, but...
Yeah, because while a lot of the things he does tend to lean towards benefiting certain industries and businesses, as a business, I would be very, very uncomfortable knowing that my president is kind of doing this, because, the shoe won't always fall on your side. And stuff like this with the Harley Davidson thing, it's like, okay, thank you for the tax breaks, but these tax breaks are now kind of meaningless because you're hurting my production. So that break isn't really helping me. So in order for me to take advantage of you shaking my hand on this, I gotta do this to pull the knife out of my back that you just laid after shaking my, you know what I mean? It's like, no, you can't trust like anything he's doing, because it's like for every positive, there's at least two negatives.
I mean, he's in extreme danger, because if you even minorly piss him off, he has no qualms about coming after you. And he doesn't care about like the norms of, you're in office, maybe they'll do that. He doesn't give a shit about that. So he will come after you if you piss him off directly. Yeah. It's coming for your ass in particular by name.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing that's scary, really scary about it, is that this isn't any subtle. Like, it's funny because I've always heard the like debate about who's worse, him or Nixon, and he is worse, because at least Nixon was a racist, like disgusting, power hungry, evil son of a bitch. But even he knew like there were rules. He had honor. This man has no fucking honor at all, or no care for rules whatsoever.
That's not his shit, man.
And not only that, whereas like, yeah, you can make the argument that Nixon, being as subversive as he was with his racism and his like, horrible policies, he wasn't publicly exuding those things, but he was privately doing them. At least he had the sense to like actually not throw that out there and embrace it, and to encourage others to embrace that type of attitude towards other people and other things that go against what he wants. Because that's even worse when you have someone who's willingly, inciting people to do the things that they do. Like, we're about to have a rally in DC that's protesting against the treatment of neo-Nazis in Charlottesville. Think about that.
Okay.
This is the world that we live in. This is the world that this guy's creating. He's empowered them to like demand justice for white people being treated bad for Charlottesville. That's fucking insane. You cannot tell me that this guy's not worse than Nixon.
I was not making the argument. So.
No, I'm just saying, but people make that, and it's like the whole like people trying to shy away the Hitler thing. No, do not fucking shy away the Hitler thing either. You need to start embracing the idea that this guy may be trying to be Hitler. Seriously. Because the things he do, it's not just on a racial thing. It's on a economic way. It's on a political way. It's on a morality way. He is outdoing all of these people in my mind. And it's ridiculous. Like this Harley Davidson thing, we may think it's just going to affect Harley Davidson. No, it's not. It's affecting the economy. And it's affecting the economy at work. It's like, I need people to be more like aware of this type stuff. Because these tariffs are going to usher in a whole new recession. Like, we're going to be in a recession in a year. Mark my words. Like, all this talk of him and these booming jobs, by this time, 2019, we're going to be all wondering, how the fuck are we going to get over this one? Seriously. I'm like that dude on CNN. I'm not saying it might. I'm saying it is.
Yeah, it is extreme. It's one of those things that make you really question the president's powers a bit here. The fact that he can do this, I don't know, like maybe there's some argument to be made for being able to do it kind of quickly. So, say in the case of if somebody else was really starting the trade war with us, which is kind of embarrassing that we're the ones starting it, but let's say, for argument's sake, that somebody else was starting with us, I guess there is an advantage to us being able to quickly clap back on them without too much deliberation, because, with our two-party system, that would be gridlocked and then we couldn't really respond. So I don't think it's completely irrational that a president could do it, but I think you're seeing this how dangerous it is when your president is stupid and he can do it.
Yeah.
Which makes me sad to say, because it's like, as much as I tend to say we should limit the power of the president, there is logical reasons for us to give the president certain powers, because it is worthwhile to be able to do certain things quickly without too much, don't make them some kind of a god king.
Yeah.
There's certain things we can't afford to wait on. So I don't hate the idea, but when I'm watching him wield it, I'm just like, maybe we shouldn't allow a president to do it.
Yeah, it's like, well, the idea of what, excuse me to all of our British people, but the idea of how they treat monarchy in Britain seems kind of silly to us in a lot of ways. There's certain things about it that make sense in comparison to now what's going on, because we're starting to see like just how, if you get that person who's actually seriously, it's funny because we didn't learn our lesson from Nixon, clearly. Because when you get that person who really feels like their position gives them the right to behave however the fuck they want, yeah, you have to take a step back and try to redefine things and like make sure we understand, is this really what we want for our country, and this is what we want the president to be for this country? My
next question is, what do you want the president to be able to do?
Yeah.
Again, like, I'm not certain I want to say no, the president shouldn't be able to do what he's doing. But I guess the issue is that kind of assumes you have a semi-competent president, which should be a reasonable assumption most of the time. But
yeah, and that's the problem, right? That in itself, that none of this probably would have been. It's never in my lifetime, at least, come up. But I don't think we would be having these types of discussions if we actually got someone sensible. I mean, shit, we had fucking George Bush and we didn't even have these discussions.
Sure. Because again, you can always argue that the president's powers are too big now, and they've certainly expanded over time, but it usually wouldn't matter, which is why, like, to your point, why we don't talk about it, or why a lot of us don't notice the things a president can do, because they just don't do it.
Yeah, like somehow the checks and balances, however fucked up they can be, have tended to work, and in generally speaking, have worked the way they were sort of intended to be, at least, if not completely. Now with this guy, it's like checks and balances be damned, which we'll get into the articles that I sent you.
Sure. I don't know. It does scare me because it makes me instinctively want to just buy a bunch of red tape and tie it all over the presidency. Because now I see what happens when it's in the hands of a psycho.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to like cripple an effective president later either. Like,
No, because it's like, yeah, if you have a reasonable person like Obama crushed in this, it doesn't work. And we kind of saw what it was when you do cripple a reasonable person, the way that Congress acted under Obama. So it's funny that we've kind of seen both ends of the spectrum in the last like 10 years, weirdly enough.
Maybe that's what makes it uncomfortable. Because I'm not saying like Obama's power should have been expanded either. But to your point, we see what happens when you can't.
Yeah, when you aren't able to like effectively do your job because certain things and people are willing to hold you up so that you don't succeed at your job. And now we have somebody who's like, I do what I want. And nobody seems to want to stop him from doing what the fuck he wants.
That's the new policy. I do what I want.
Yeah.
So let's see. I was reading.
Should be on the presidential shield. See, that's going to be put on the presidential shield from now on. I do what I want.
It's going to be a king shield when he decides he's done with his president shit.
Yeah, I know.
What is this Pruitt shit now?
Okay, so this is the sidetrack part because this is even a part. Although, all right, I'm going to segue this into something that we were going to talk about, which is Maxine Waters has been a part of this whole debate with Trump and the immigration thing in particular, but just overall, Trump's been having this running fight with Maxine Waters, who, after the incident with Sarah Sanders, for those who might not know, Sarah Sanders went to a restaurant in Lexington, Virginia, in which the owner asked her to leave because she didn't want people who did the things that her administration did, and she wasn't comfortable with serving them. She wanted them to leave. Sarah Sanders left. Of course, she threw a pitch fit and cried about having be made to leave because of her political standing and what have you. So much so that now she feels so uncomfortable in life that she has to have her own Secret Service detail, which really pisses me off because now we're paying to protect that bitch. For what? Nobody wants to kill you. We just don't like you. You don't want you in our space. It's perfectly legal, especially since the Supreme Court said that it's legal to not have to serve people who you don't want to.
I don't know that nobody wants to kill her. I mean, I'm sure there's like a couple reporters who are like getting real sick of these.
I'm sure if April Ryan could catch her one day in a dark alley, nobody knew.
Because she's a real dick in those briefings all the time, which is odd to me because I remember in response to this, she said something like, I always strive to be, respectful to everybody, even if I don't
exactly.
Like,
that was her thing. I was like, bitch, no.
What?
Think you fooling?
Yo, I remember laughing when I read that because I was like, that's wild that you said that, yo. Really? Really?
Like she said, she put that shit out on the internet, on the ether. Like, yeah, I'm respectful. Get the fuck out of here.
It's the kind of thing you would say just to show that you don't give a fuck about reality.
It really is. It is a middle finger.
If I think of any of her reactions, I can't think of any of them being nice. At best,
it's not even her voice. Look at her fucking face when she's responding to questions. She seriously has this look of disdain, like, stupid. You making me answer this? Like, she really has a incredible amount of disdain and disrespect for media.
But it's not even like she's trying to hide it and she's a bad actor.
No.
Like she says it out loud all the time.
She says it and she expresses it in her reactions.
Which again, government official representing the White House is not some fucking random blogger.
Head of press relations.
There you go.
Being a dick 24/7 to them. Good job.
That got my attention. Another thing was this weird allusion to the fact that this country has an uncomfortable history with denying people service, restaurants and water fountains, relating it to the whole race thing. And I was like, wow, that's bold.
Yeah, no. All I said was, I don't like you and your politics. Please leave my restaurant. No, that's a totally different. Like that doesn't equate. But that's what they do. This is how they try to frame things, and it sickens me that they are able to get rid of this, get away with this. Which brings us to Maxine Waters, who made a valid point when she said that no, we shouldn't just be like quiet and not say anything. We should confront these people. And I think where she messed up was when she said the word harass. She said we should harass them. I think that's why people took it to the next level when of her, and why you had Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi toe tapping and talking about, well, we're not really about that. That's not the Democratic way, and all that bullshit that they tried to lay down and shit like that. No, to her point, yeah, you should be able to address it. One, these are your elected officials. These are the people that, for better or for worse, have been elected to run this country. That being said, their position does not cocoon them, because they're accountable for what they do, because what they do affects our lives. So yeah, we should start to, be more, I would say probably more aggressive, or at least more vocal, more willing to speak up when we're in their presence, and not just sit back if we like are unhappy with what they're doing, and just be like the whole out of the quote unquote respect of the office. I'm not going to voice my feelings to you or anything like that. And they say, no, that's their position. It's what they ask for. It's what they do their job for. And we should start like holding them more accountable and being more aggressive. Again, do I say harass? No, because harass could be taken in so many other ways that aren't positive. But no, what this lady did was she expressed her right as a citizen, as a business owner, to not service someone. And she's not servicing them, not because of some racial or moral. I wouldn't even say it was a moral thing. She doesn't like what they're doing to this country, and she feels uncomfortable serving someone who's fucking with the country that she loves.
I think there's something to touch on there too, because there is this concern people have about us devolving into this society where, there's liberal only restaurants and conservative only and blah blah blah, which fair enough of a concern, I guess. But I think that concern is the result of this bad instinct we have to consider this just an issue of like partisanship. Like, this isn't just because she's, I don't know what the fuck she is, Republican, conservative, whatever she would claim to be. That's not the point. It's the same. It's not the reason we don't like Trump either, or McConnell, or Ryan, or whoever. It's not because they are conservatives. I can think of conservatives who I don't mind. It is them taking things to such dangerous, stupid, in some cases selfish extremes that they are putting the country in danger. I don't mind the idea that, I don't know, somebody cares about being fiscally conservative, whatever. It's not the point. It's not that you have the R next to your name. It is that you are doing things that are immoral, in some cases illegal, dangerously stupid, damning to the country. These aren't minor differences of opinion, And the idea that it's cool to just like lock up kids in cages for the sake of a political victory is not a minor political difference. That's pretty fucking serious.
No, and it's funny because when we talk about these things, we usually use the term conservative liberal. And for me, it's a frame of reference that's just a generalization. It's a generalization that has been taken out of hand, of course, because there's kind of no other way to generalize the two, when we talk about these things. Because generally speaking, when we talk about fucked up shit on the show, we talk about fucked up shit to people who claim themselves to be conservatives or Republicans. So it's not that it's us just, damning all conservatives. It just so happens to be that the people that we're discussing affiliate themselves that way, so you can't avoid it. And it makes it easy for them to be able to do these things, like how there's this whole outcry about civility and treating people right. It's like the whole you need to respect the president because of who he is comes out because we get washed up in the whole like the label thing. They're able to take the like use of that label, which isn't intentionally just being used as a blanket term. It's just a reference of the fact that, hey, conservative Mitch McConnell did this. He is a conservative. That's what he calls himself. But it spirals down to that means I hate every fucking conservative and every conservative viewpoint ever because I'm calling out Mitch McConnell. And it's like, and that's how they weaponize things. And that's where I totally get Maxine Waters' point is that no, because we spend so much time trying to be respectful, quote unquote, and trying to like frame things in a way where we don't necessarily hurt people's feelings because we don't want to make it look like we're just doing it because you're this type of thing. Well, you should be just like be able to go point blank and say what you need to say to these people and not be drugged into the whole you're playing favorites thing. No, I don't like what you're doing. You're fucking up. Just like the you heard the story about the crowd that ran into Mitch McConnell, right?
No.
So Mitch McConnell was leaving Georgetown University after he was doing I think his wife was doing something there because his wife's an alum. And there was a crowd protesting them being there, and they were yelling at him and asking him how he could sleep, knowing all these children are like that. His wife snapped off on him. It was literally screamed at them, "Leave him alone. How do you know he's not sleeping? He's not sleeping at all. Leave my husband alone." She went off on the crowd. Now, was it wrong of the crowd to do that? No. Because in the position that he is, he's open to that criticism, even publicly. Was she wrong for what she did? No, because that's her husband. And yeah, she should protect her husband if she wants to. You know, neither side was necessarily wrong. They weren't physically abusing him. They were just asking him straight up, how could you let shit like this happen?
So where were they?
Georgetown University.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was he like giving a talk or something?
Yeah, and he was leaving at the time, and there was a group outside that saw him, and they started asking him questions like that.
I guess it's important because I remember thinking about I was about to call her Sarah Palin, Miss Huckabee Sanders there. I wonder if there is a line you can at least draw as far as like, because if she was like at the moment performing in her role as like a White House representative, then it seems fine to say that shit. But like, is there no line? Like, she can't be at a restaurant and not get yelled at. Is it okay to like, I don't know, you see in her car to start yelling? It's like, is there no separation for her between what her job is?
No, and the only reason I say no is because as a person who's had this conversation about this type of thing when it comes to celebrities, it's kind of like the same thing. Do I think it's right that these people have to deal with this type of stuff? No. Human beings should be respectful enough to give other human beings their space, no matter how famous they are. That being said, unfortunately, one of the issues with being in the public eye, especially in the political, I think even more so in a political sense, when you are considered a servant of U.S. citizens, it's a come with the territory type of thing, because you have put yourself in a position where you want to be known and you want that type of you want people's attention. It may not have been the driving force as to why you do what you do, but you have to acknowledge the fact that if you're trying to be a politician or work in the political scope or an entertainer of some type, whatever, you're trying to be a public eye figure, you have to realize that you are going to get a inordinate amount of attention as comparison to other person. Like me and you sitting in the restaurant with a Bring Back Obama t-shirt probably would get a reaction, but probably would get less quick response than being the press secretary of the United States. You know what I mean?
Sure, and it
So
should.
it's kind of like, I guess it's a catch-22 thing where it's like, yeah, um, if you want to call from like moral standpoint or however you want to frame it, sure, you should be able to just privately have a quiet meal wherever you want. That being said, you're famous.
Well,
And
I'm not sure if a restaurant per se should be required to serve you, but it's even with just the general celebrity thing. I think it's always been a concern to me, where we tend to justify people bothering celebrities at any given moment by saying like, well, you know that comes with being famous.
I don't think
But
that's a justification. Honestly, I don't think that's a justification. I think it's just a sad reality. At least for me, it's a sad reality, not a justification. Because I will never say that you should be able to do, like, I would never be that person who say, because I watch your movies, because I read your comic books, or what have you, you owe me the right to do this. No, that's ridiculous. That's stupid. That's innate. That's no. It's not. It don't really work like that. What I'm kind of saying is that, while yeah, I agree, people need to back the hell up until you get something like a huge shift socially. It's the way it is, and it's something that you unfortunately have to deal with. And I feel like, I wish you didn't have to, but you just kind of need to bear up a little bit better to it. It becomes one of those things that it's a sacrifice of your position. It's a shitty sacrifice, but it is a sacrifice.
I guess for me, that's where the whole, I guess like you mentioned, catch-22 thing is, the analogy is apt here, is because it's like we're saying that is part of it, and but we're also, the reason I use the word justification is because it's like on the other end, we're okay with some sense with people doing it because we acknowledge that is part of being famous. It's like, I mean, like I said, it's a catch-22 where it's, we're saying like you should be okay with this because it is part of it, but it's part of it because we think you should be okay with it. And so I would like to see a large scale social agreement, I guess, because I'm certainly going to acknowledge that this is not the truth of reality right now, but I would like us as a society to think more about it and be like, maybe we should all agree that there is some fucking line here. Because
it's like, okay, working at the Spy Museum, I actually ran into numerous famous people. And like the way I've always approached it was like, look, they're here, they're vacationing, they're with their families, friends, whatever. I know you're famous, but I'm not going to treat you as such. I'm going to treat you like you're someone on vacation and respect that. I'm not going to fawn and like over, because I remember one particular moment where they actually put out a company mandate, like a memo. You ever watch the show Lost?
No.
I didn't either. Well, this Asian actor, I forget his name. He's been in a lot of stuff. He was like one of the prominent characters. He actually came there with his son, and a lot of people watched Lost, and he was sitting in our cafeteria eating lunch, and the word got up to the offices that he was there. And all of a sudden, you started seeing a flood of people come down from the office floor to gawk at this guy in the goddamn cafeteria. And then from that, they put out a mandate like, no, you get caught doing some shit like that, you're going to get reprimanded or fired. And I always was like, why do you have to, had the thought of, why would you have to do that? People should know better. Man is here with his children, his son, trying to have lunch while on vacation, and you all are like sitting here like looking through the glass window and hovering around him, annoying the fuck out of him. Because what? Why?
Oh yeah.
Let him let him live, let him breathe. But
right. Plus, I guess part of the reason too is like, we say that you know that as a famous person you're going to get this. But there are other people around who are not accepting that same responsibility, like that dude's kid. or McConnell's wife. Like,
well, no, she's a rarity because she has accepted that. Remember, she's the head of transportation.
yes.
So yeah, she's gonna take that out.
In her case, yes, but other people, yes.
But yeah, no, you're right. Like his kids, or like who else came to the museum?
Was Sanders was with somebody at that dinner, right? Like she must have brought somebody who was like not also.
She was with no, she. I'd say it was a business thing because she was actually with her staff.
Oh, was it? All right. I thought it was like a family thing because like, but generally the point stands where it's like we say that for the famous person while not acknowledging that there are other people in their sphere who have not accepted that consequence of being famous, and yet we're kind of imposing it on them too without thinking about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you said, there is a reality as it is at the moment, which I will have to accept that it is. I would like
it's begrudgingly, because I'm with you. I begrudgingly accept that. Make no mistake, I don't like that this is the terms that I have to acknowledge, but no.
Fair enough. And we don't got to worry about Maxine Waters, though, because she can get shot, apparently.
Yeah, so Maxine Waters, after this, has been getting death threats and things like that. And she don't give a fuck. Like, honestly, she's 80 years old. Why should she give a fuck at this point? Like, what are you going to do? You're going to kill me? Like, it's a race between you and the Grim Reaper. Place your bets, people. I'm playing with house money. She's playing with house money at this point. So, hey.
Shoot me in the face if you want, bro.
Like, you just gave my family their inheritance a few months earlier. Fuck it. And you made me a martyr. And you made me a historical figure by martyring me. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I guess at that point is where the strategy kind of, I wouldn't say it breaks down, but it becomes a little questionable to me because one of the effects of doing that is this sort of back and forth increasing of the odds. I guess you say this, we're going to kill you. We're going to kill, like, I don't want that acceleration.
Well, to be fair, she's not throwing the shade of like, we need to kill them.
No. She didn't do that, but it's like the trade war thing, right? Like, it goes tit for tat and then spirals out of control. Like, I don't think she said anything wrong. To your point, the one thing she said might have just been like a verbal misstep. I don't think she meant harass in the sense of like go knock on their car windows or some crazy shit like that.
Exactly.
So that might have just not been the clearest of language in the heat of the moment.
And even if you quote unquote harass, you can do it in a respectable way, which segue to what I just sent you. So a perfect example of what she was talking about was this mom who I just I didn't watch per se. I just had it on the background. CNN actually just did an interview with her, and she's kind of a MILF, by the way. I hate to go there, but she kind of she was like wearing this like lion necklace that first of all made her look even more fierce than what she did when she did what she did. And she had this tribal tattoo, and I like tattoos. Like, you go, girl. Anyway, so it should be the first.
I have both links up. Like, I see a video, but like I don't see the images of her. Oh wait, was that her?
They should, because she basically Pruitt was having lunch somewhere, and a mom came up with her child and basically walked up to him in a respectful, calm manner and told her how she's displeased with the job that he was doing and that she would like for him to consider resigning for the American people. Basically, she was like, bruh, quit. Just quit.
Shit out of here, bro.
Like, get out of here. You're embarrassing us. And that is a perfect example of the quote-unquote harassment that I think Maxine Waters was talking about. It's like, when you see somebody you are displeased with what they're doing, say something to them and let them know you don't like what they're doing and you want them to do better and be better.
Yo, she got the red hair, though.
Yeah, exactly. I knew you would. I knew you'd be on it. I knew you'd be on it. Yep.
I mean,
I told you. What did I say?
All right.
Not that old either, so she
viewers, all the viewers. male and female. You can't tell me like a little fire in your life isn't kind of sexy, bro. Come on. I'm sorry.
But yeah, no. I mean, like if you look at it and you listen to what she was saying, she wasn't being, abusive. The look on Pruitt's face, it kind of was like, wow, like he couldn't believe it. But no, she respectfully told him to quit.
Sure. Like that image there doesn't upset me that much because it's like, I've had times where I'm out in public and a stranger walks up and says something to me, not like mean or whatever, but they just say something random like, hey, cool shirt, because, Miles is boss. But whatever the case may be, like that image doesn't upset me. I guess the type of image that like comes to my mind is where you have just like a sea of people constantly berating a single person.
Yeah.
Where it's like, in that case, it's like, it's not even productive anymore. It's more just like mob mentality screaming.
No, it's kind of like the Starbucks thing when people were going livid over that Starbucks and they were in the employees' faces. It's like, yeah, that's not doing anything because you're screaming at the people who had nothing to fucking do with this situation. First of all,
those are two things that concern me. It's like one, that there is a point of where it's like way too fucking much, and then one, it becomes like unfairly harassing a person for real, and two, it becomes not effective anyway because they're too concerned for either their safety or you're coming down too hard on them or they can't hear you because there's too many of you. Like whatever the case is, like I don't know. There is a line that can be crossed, but that woman didn't look like she was crossed. She was just a single person standing there with her kid. It looked like she was just calmly explaining herself. She got the right hair.
Conversation, yeah.
So she's pretty sexy with the hair. So it's all good.
I hope she lives in Florida so you can like give her a call. But but though that's a good example, and that's pretty much to the point of what Maxine Waters is saying. Because as a friend of mine said, like she's not doing this because she's just randomly being a hater. People are tired. It's kind of like going back to the election situation with Cortez in New York beating a like long-standing member. Like while part of it is kind of like a weird social democratic socialist Bernie type thing, I think a lot of it also is that like this is someone who's young and who's entertaining new different approaches. And we've been stuck in it's like a myriad of old white men for the most part running this country. Like it's a cyclical disease that this country's government has because of the way that they do term limits and things like that. Which let me ask you this question: do you think that there should be congressional term limits? Unlike how I believe Senate, you only can run 3 times, but it's in particular House of Representatives. It's pretty much you can keep going as long as you win. What do you think about term limits in Congress? Do you think that they need to be changed?
I think they could probably be imposed. Yes, like there is something.
I need term limits.
There is something to be said for cycling in fresher ideas with each generation. Like, just generally speaking, you do need that. Like, I don't know if somebody would like to make the argument that there's also something to be said for a stability in opinion, which, sure, that's why you don't make the term limit 5 minutes, but there is a benefit to be had by pushing the newer generations in so that when you look at the thoughts of each generation, you're going to find that the next generation doesn't think exactly the same way that the previous one does. You want those ideas to start flowing up and becoming policy and stuff, which I think is harder when you have a bunch of older people. I don't want to say like in the way per se, but
no, they're in the way. Because a perfect example of being quote unquote in the way is look at the way that technology has been used. Remember we had that debate on the show a while back about how the Senate treats things like utilizing technology on the Senate floor.
Sure.
And things like that. And like everybody's like against having cell phones and laptops for research and stuff like that. It's like, why wouldn't you allow them to have an intern who can look up documentation with the laptop for you when making an argument? or bringing up a point. Why don't you want these people to be in contact with other people so they can get the information that they need? What is the problem with that? Yet they ban technology on the floor, even though we are well within like the midst of technology pretty much as a standard of what is life.
I'm sure there's some people who would say like there's no reason for term limits because you can always vote them out now anyway. It's not like they're trapped in there, but there is you can't ignore the fact that people become comfortable with certain representatives, so they're just more likely to stay.
And that's what happens. You get too comfortable, and you don't want to get comfortable because when you're running a campaign, you can frame yourself however you want, and sure, you can frame yourself to have these types of ideas, but in reality, kind of going like with the whole Maxine Waters thing, when you look at the response by Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, that's a like counterproductive way of doing things that Democrats have done for years. Whereas like that whole, like, I get what Michelle Obama was saying, when they go low, when they go, low, we go high type of thing. But that only works to a certain degree. You can't keep holding your head up and trying to be extremely quote unquote dignified without reaction. You should never be like, oh, I don't want to look like I'm hostile or crazy or disagreeable, which is kind of like what pissed me off about Schumer and Pelosi, when they made their comments, because they basically took the harassment term and tried to frame it as if she was asking for us to go out and start a revolution and bring blood to the streets. And it's like, no, that's not what she's saying. You're not even paying attention to what she's saying. You're so busy trying to appease people that you're not even paying attention to what the fuck she was actually trying to say. You just don't want nobody to be mad at you.
I think I've mentioned it before, but we have a terrible problem with falling into their rhetorical traps where because I mean, let's be honest with these special snowflakes over here. They keep putting themselves in the place of victims so that we will have to respond and assure them that we're not trying to victimize them. They do this with so many issues. And I don't think, wanting to be fair and balanced and all that stuff is terrible. Is a terrible instinct, but you're letting them accusing you of being unfair push you too far in irrational directions. That's why I mentioned the thing about the disdain for, I keep wanting to call her Sarah Palin, the disdain for Sarah Huckabee Sanders is not because she's Republican or conservative or whatever. And the reason I say that is because they have the right in this case keeps making it seem like any attack on them is purely a partisan attack. And we keep falling into that same battle with them over and over. And it's like, no, you should be able to say what you mean while still being respectful without it being reduced to discrimination based on party affiliation or what have you. It's a very effective trap that they tend to use because they keep getting us to take stupid positions. I will say, even myself, when I heard Maxine Waters say what she said, I instinctively pulled away from that. And I think maybe it was just like the image, because when she was saying that shit, she was talking to a crowd that was like pretty into it, right? So immediately in my mind, the image I was already calling up was when she said, harass them. I guess maybe because she was in a crowd and I was like hearing them cheer and see that image. I was imagining like a big group of people like harassing these people in their everyday lives. Not letting them eat at a restaurant ever. If they're on a walk, you're always yelling at them. Like, just the image I was drawing up was not one I would support, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's weird because you're right. They frame themselves as victims so well. When you look at it, it's like you see the images of these people harassing, like the woman harassing the kid. The picture that you see of her telling the kid like she hopes he gets deported or something. I forget exactly where that was, but I think you've seen that picture before, haven't you? It was like this older white woman yelling in the face of this teenage Hispanic kid.
It's recent, right?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, there's stuff like that, or the numerous occasions. Like over the past couple of weeks, we've had 2 occasions where white people have called the cops on black people for being people. Yeah, like the little girl who had the cops called on her for selling water without a permit, or the little kid who just got the police called on him for mowing up people's lawns for summer money. Stuff like that. It's like you see these horrible things done, but take your MILF, your redheaded MILF. She's gonna catch the whirlwind, and we're gonna get this whole framing of how like they just can't live and they can't, they don't feel comfortable and stuff like this with people like her coming up to them and making them. It's like, wait, what? You're fucking you're to this point that I heard on the podcast that I totally forgot. You had a president who, during his campaign, when they were kicking protesters out, he was telling the cops that they should beat the shit out of them. Yet, y'all wanted somebody actually kindly to leave a restaurant, and you're all of a sudden oppressed and discriminated.
I remember when he said he would pay for somebody's legal fees if they punch somebody at one of his rallies or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this is where we're at.
But if I, want to fucking throw a barbecue in a park, which is perfectly fine, nah, call the cops.
And it's an easy trap to fall into because, again, I think what they're preying on are really good instincts. It is not crazy to want to be and seem respectful and civil and unbiased and all this shit. And we got the most reasonable amongst us all have this instinct. And I don't know whether they're consciously doing this or not, but they're certainly easily able to
they
benefit on this.
They are doing it on purpose. Because that's one of the things. They're using the idea of being a decent person against you.
Right, pretty much,
That's what they're doing. It's like they're using your ability to show human compassion and decency against you.
So you end up mindfucked. Next thing you know, you're standing up for them, and to the extent that they ever get treated unfairly, sure, stand up for them, fine. But it makes the conversations incredibly difficult to have because they put you in this position where you're forced to reestablish the moral high ground over and over and over again, where you're forced to reassure everybody that you're not being discriminatory based on party affiliation, that you're not being unfair, that you're not just attacking people. You have to reestablish this moral high ground every time you talk to them. So much so that you're not spending any time actually talking about just the issues themselves.
Exactly, and that's where the issues tend to get. Well, it's just this whole running fight with Maxine Waters is a godsend to him, or the Sarah Huckabee Sanders thing, that's a godsend to him because it shifts the fight away from the actual issue. His whole framing of the Harley Davidson thing is another good example. He's villainizing Harley Davidson, even though we wouldn't be in this position of Harley Davidson having to do what they're doing if it wasn't for his stupid ass in the first place. But somehow he's going to end up rallying the troops against these companies that are going to want to leave and pull jobs because it's getting extra expensive to try to make money in America. And his allegiance is going to follow and bury them. And for what? Because you fucked up? The lack of responsibility that they are able to do it. And I hate to say this, but this is part of the problem that we have with you white people. It's that lack of responsibility for your actions. It's always trying to avoid the real issue by dumping in this false sense of insecurity that you have. No. It's dumb. But it's working. And it's working at a ridiculous level right now that is making it scary because, again, you laugh at the Hitler comparisons all you want, but this is what Hitler did. This is how Hitler framed Nazi Germany.
So I don't think Hitler thinks a perfect example. I was gonna say I don't think people laugh at it. I think they become overly offended at it, and that might seem unreasonable because it's like, of course you should be offended at a Hitler reference. It's pretty dark, but I think this goes to people's stupidity. I was going to say intellectual laziness, but I'm just going to call it stupidity point blank.
Yeah, call a spade, please.
There's this thing like where if you use a Hitler reference.
Really quick side note, you just gave a good example of what you're talking about the whole trying to be, respectful thing with that.
Fair enough. I mean, like I said, it is an instinct, and it's not a terrible one to have.
Now,
but the saying something like, if you ever use a Hitler reference in an argument, you lose the argument, essentially because it's just too extreme. And to say that is just stupid because it oversimplifies the point of a reference to anything. First of all, a reference is just a reference. It's an analogy. It's a way of illustrating a point. It's not saying like this guy is literally Hitler. It's just a useful analogy because one, most people have heard of Hitler, so it's just a useful tool intellectually to use. And two, in this particular case, you're comparing him to certain things about Hitler. It's not that he's trying to fill the ovens with Jews or whatever. It's the many other horrific, troubling things about the rise of the Nazi regime that ought to concern you, because it's not just, we're gonna wake up one day, or it's not an instant switch thing, right? That's not how these types of regimes just rise up. It's over time they get more and more radical until something crazy happens. And even pointing that out is not to necessarily say that America is going to end up all the way where the Nazi regime was, but you shouldn't even want to go in that direction. Not even a single step in that direction. No. Every step toward it should bother you. It shouldn't bother you only when we finally reach the destination of madness.
Yeah, to the point, part of the problem with Hitler was that shit that he was doing didn't bother anybody until he finally got to the pinnacle of his fucking, behavior and his goals.
I think that's the only thing wrong with the Hitler reference is it helps people imagine something worse, and because we haven't hit it, it makes it psychologically easier to ignore what's already happening.
Yeah,
because they can always say, well, we're not putting Jews in ovens. Like every bad step you take is not the destination, so it's easier to just kind of suppress your disgust with it. That is the only thing wrong with the Hitler reference to me, is that I think it gives too many people a nice little out to ignore problems. So my only problem with it is it's not really as effective as people think it is.
Yeah, that's the sadness of that. That's very sad. But you're right. You're definitely right. I don't even think we've gotten through like half of a week yet. That's the funny part about it, because we had got the Maxine Waters stuff. We're just kind of segueing into the following week, maybe. And we don't know. So hold on, was the Manafort indictment sent to jail? That was before you left, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so Manafort was sent to jail before you left. But the Kelly thing that just not Kelly. Oh, who is it? That is Flynn. Yeah, that shit just came up, right?
I think so, because I don't even know what it is yet.
Shit, and I can't remember what it was that happened, but
it's like
the judge is ordering Michael Flynn to court so that they can start the arraignment for his guilty plea. Basically, the judge is tired of them trying to delay his sentencing, and he's like, no, you need to come to court like this week for your sentencing. So one of the people who has pleaded guilty is about to be sentenced in this whole Russia shenanigans with Trump. Which is very, very funny because I just realized today, like listening to talk about this stuff, that there's 6 people who've pled guilty in this whole thing. I don't know exactly who, other than I know it was a couple of Russians, but I can't think of who else. But
other names really vague in the back of my mind. But
yeah, but that's amazing that something that's been framed as a witch hunt has produced so many convictions, or not convictions, but arrests. And well, I guess so many convictions too, because if you plead guilty, you're convicted, convict. So yeah, this is all fucking smokescreen. There's nothing to this.
It's the witch hunt. Terrible, terrible stuff. Everybody wants this thing to be over with. Like, if you've got something, hurry up and present it, and let's get this over with. Like, they've got lots of shit apparently because they keep throwing indictments on people's asses.
Right,
so.
Like everybody's getting indicted.
I don't know why you're trying to make it seem like they don't have anything. Like, they have a lot.
Like, do you not see this mountain that is formulating?
Ask Manafort what they got, because he'll tell you. God damn.
The earth will implode before he gets out of prison.
This dude is up to the top of his head with fucking. Ask Cohen what they got. Shit.
Yeah, that's another thing that's gone on. Michael Cohen seems to be getting very chummy with the FBI, giving them great quotes about how respectful and honest and how no one should disrespect the FBI. Out of nowhere, by the way, this dude does an interview.
Country first.
Yeah, out of nowhere, this dude is like giving all these superlatives about the FBI after like being rated and talking about how he's loyal, he'll never betray the president, and blah 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 blah. He's suddenly has softened his stance a bit. So what do you think when do you think he's going to officially flip? And if he does officially, well, I won't say if he does. When he flips, what type of impact do you think this is going to have?
Hasn't he already? I mean, I just like have this image in my mind of like some agent going up to him and whispering in his ear, like, "We know about blah blah blah," and he just like shits himself. He's like, "Well, that's it. I'm done. We're good, right?"
And honestly, I think that's what it is. His like former like apparent ties to mafia is what's coming to bite him in the ass right now, and why he's being so nice.
So when I saw that change in a tone, I was like, "Yo, what did they whisper in his ear? Like, what did they learn?"
Yeah, like how far did Batman shove the batarang up your ass? Like, because Robert Mueller seriously has gotten to you, sir.
As far as what effect it will have, what I'm wondering is like, maybe I'm missing it, but I was expecting Trump to like respond to this by now. Like, has he responded to the fact that Cohen's little tone is brightening up on the FBI?
No, he hasn't responded. Of course, Michael Avati has, because he has to get on TV.
Because he can't shut the fuck up.
Yeah, he really can't.
I called it, bro. I told you. I was the first one to say this.
Like, that man loves himself and he loves his job. And he is not denying it whatsoever.
When's the last time we talked about Stormy Daniels?
We haven't. That's why I found it weird. Like yesterday, after the Cohen thing came on, that he was the guy that they were interviewing. Like, wait, what does this have to do with it? Like,
I mean, we're talking about how good he is at his job. Is he? Because I haven't thought about Stormy Daniels in like a month at least. So, but whatever. Maybe it doesn't matter because Cohen's getting fucked in the ass regardless.
Yeah.
As far as the effect, I guess maybe Trump's silence is enough of an illustration of an indicator of how serious he thinks this is, because he's shutting the fuck up. Like, I assume it will be extreme problems for Trump. I don't think it will be in relation to Russia per se. It will probably just be in relation to more business problems. Some seedy business tactics he was using and stuff. I think that will be a huge legal issue for him. I don't know what that means in terms of his status as president, So, like, how they will punish him for that.
I think it opens up a can of worms in non-Russia stuff, to be quite honest, because as much as we like to focus on Cohen and the Stormy Daniels thing, we have to remember this guy has been Trump's lawyer for a while and has facilitated a lot of different things for him. As far as rumored to have facilitated a lot of things for him, not just making arrangements with women that he slept with to keep them quiet, but just he's fairly like a fix-it guy.
Not keeping him quiet enough, apparently.
Yeah, but no, as him being a fix-it guy, he has to have had his hands on some questionable things that he had to fix beyond just paying porn stars. So while it may not necessarily pertain to Russia, it is going to be something very damning to Donald Trump.
But how does that affect him now as president? Because normally when we're talking about the Russia stuff,
well, that's the thing. No president is not absolved of going up against any litigation at any time. So he can be brought to trial for illegal activity.
I was just gonna say, like, normally when we talk about the Russia thing, we always have impeachment as the conclusion that we're thinking about. I don't know if people think about prison after that, but impeachment is generally what people are talking toward when we talk about the Russia thing. But I don't think we talk enough about all the other illegal shit he probably does that's really going to bite him in the ass too.
And yeah, that stuff can lead to them wanting to impeach him as well. That's the thing.
But it seems like it would be less likely that the Russia thing would. Like, I can see if he was doing all kinds of crazy business shit, I could still see a lot of Republicans letting it slide. As far as impeachment goes, I guess. I feel like if he was casted as a traitor to America in favor of Russia somehow, that would be harder for them to ignore. But I don't see them being too shaken up by his bad business practices.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, yeah, they probably wouldn't bat an eye. And considering that we have several senators who've been accused of certain things like that too. So yeah, you might be right. But I have to think that if anything, it would give credibility to the Russia thing. Because you could frame the argument that if this is the type of stuff that this guy is willing to do to get ahead, who says he's not willing to, conspire with another country?
Because him kissing Putin's ass every chance he gets wasn't
I know,
enough of a sign.
Yeah, and the obvious wasn't enough, but
he still says he didn't meddle with our elections.
Yeah,
I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does. This guy is the best.
Yeah, no, he is the best. He picks the best people, because the other article that I sent you was about Scott Pruitt as well, which basically it came out today, the day of this recording, that he approached Trump and offered to become the Attorney General if he fires Jeff Sessions. He basically asked the president, or suggested to the president, that he should fire Jeff Sessions as the Attorney General and that he would be willing to take the job. Now, if you don't know who Scott Pruitt is a dickhead, an asshole.
Also,
the head of the EPA who has been constantly under fire for his different practices, including wasting taxpayers' money to jet set across the planet to vacation spots for pins that are a ridiculous amount of money.
Did he ever get his bulletproof? What the fuck was it? Was it a truck?
Yeah, he wanted a bulletproof truck. He basically has been living the good life at the expense of the American taxpayers, not really doing his job, which is to protect the environment. But he sure is spending that money. And
make it clear, I'm sure like a lot of you guys' salary don't add up to the money he's been wasting. So I don't know if there's like
the money that he's wasted. I'm sure he could have like fed a town. I guarantee you he could have fed a town for a year.
Like a total. Like somebody has to be keeping a tally of this.
Yeah. But yeah, this guy apparently is trying to influence Trump to fire Sessions so he could take over the job. Now, could you imagine somebody like that as the Attorney General? As the head of law in this country?
If my quick glance at a Time article here is accurate, is this like $160K just for the airfare alone? Yeah, that's not my salary. That's by itself, that's more than my salary by like a lot.
Yeah.
And then there's like all the other costs of random shit he does. Oh my god.
Yeah.
But quick question. How does this motherfucker still have a job?
I don't know.
I'm not even sure how mad I am anymore. I'm just awestruck by the fact that this guy...
Yeah, the anger is kind of like turned into bewilderment and awe. Seriously. Because
we talk about Trump being invincible. Like, what the fuck? Does he have to stab somebody's child in the throat?
Like, dude, I got threatened for forgetting something at work. How is this guy not even like this guy's so comfortable in his position that he doesn't want that job no more. He wants a better job now.
I feel like there was at more than one point talk about that happening. Because I remember at some point Trump was asked about that before today, like this idea of Pruitt being moved up from being the EPA head to the to Sessions' job, or maybe it was somebody else's. They were talking about moving him up, and I was like, Jesus Christ, this guy is invincible.
Yeah, and now we have some more breaking news. Someone says that a Trump advisor has told them that getting rid of Scott Pruitt is a priority for Chief of Staff Kelly, and the president is exasperated. So basically, his children are fighting amongst each other. Head of Staff Kelly, General Kelly, wants Scott Pruitt gone, but Trump is mad at this, and what the fuck?
A soundproof phone booth in his office.
Yeah, he needs to like fucking Maxwell Smart shit
for $43,000.
Yeah, he needs the Maxwell Smart shit because nobody. I can't let you hear what I got to say about the environment.
This dude is what you can't even hate because he's getting away.
And you want him to? He wants to be Attorney General. What the fuck?
You know what? Maybe we shouldn't fire him from being the EPA head because Trump will make him the Attorney General if he gets fired. So maybe we're all shooting for the wrong shit here.
Maybe. I don't fucking know. It's just the dumbest thing. Oh my god. All right, so let's dig into this Attorney General. I mean, not the Attorney General thing. Fuck.
Attorney General.
Oh no. So one of the justices of the Supreme Court surprisingly quit after a monumental decision to justify Trump's
latest iteration of that travel ban.
Travel ban. He literally did this like the day after that shit went through, by the way. If that's not suspect, I don't know what the fuck it is. Like, how did Anthony Kennedy? What the fuck does Trump have on Kennedy? And why did he do this?
I'm sure Mueller will tell us.
Yeah, I really feel like it's funny that you say that because I personally think that his name came up in something. And that this is part of the strategic move to get him out of the way now. For one, that blows up in his face, and two, so he can do whatever damage he needed to do and set the course for a more conservative person. Because how much do you know about Anthony Kennedy?
Not very much. I mean, I hear people talk about him like he was some sort of really middle of the line kind of guy. I don't know what kind
of. First of all, no, he wasn't. He was a dickhead. He was a dickhead who occasionally did the right thing. That's the thing. Because he was one of the people who was like, yeah, we're not getting rid of Roe versus Wade. I don't like it, but there is merit to it. So it was like when it came to certain key things, Anthony Kennedy was seen as a moderate because he tended to kind of fall in certain major issues on a more liberal sense. The thing is, it wasn't him being a moderate. It was just that that's just how he felt. And he's said over the years that he hates that people try to call him a moderate, or his most dreaded term is being called the swing vote of the Supreme Court, because that's how a lot of people looked at him in his later years. Because you have like Scalia and Gorsuch and the Thomas, and I forget the fourth conservative judge, but you have these real hardline conservative people, and then you have these really liberal Ginsburg, Sotomayor, these really liberal people, and then you had Anthony Kennedy, who was by trade a conservative, who would occasionally, and that's why like his legend, quote unquote, is totally inflated, because on occasion when he did go with what was considered the most liberal side, it was very impactful. In particular, Roe versus Wade, because when they tried to bring it up a few years back, he was the guy who said, "No, we're not getting rid of Roe versus Wade. It needs to stay." He was the deciding vote on that, and that's pretty much the position that he's like been given historically as the "I saved the day" guy. Because the handful of times when there was a major issue, he went with that. But news alert, this is also the guy who just voted for this travel ban, and he voted for the discrimination case when it came to the baker. So, yeah, y'all try to frame this guy as like, that like, I understand why people are upset, because he did try to do certain things with rationale. I'm not going to discredit that. Roe versus Wade, it will be forever the shining example of how, as conservative as he is, he can be rationally motivated in his decisions on occasion. And, that's where he affords his legendary status. But the problem is now that you have a president who is clearly been pining. He said this before, when the Supreme Court went against something that he did, that, hey, we need to get more conservatives on this, more conservative judges, more GOP judges. I can't make things happen unless you give me the people I want. He clearly wants to tip the balance in favor of his ideology. And with Kennedy leaving, this opens that door, because now Mitch McConnell, who made a big to-do about we would only select the justice after midterms or after an election, because we don't want it to seem as like we're trying to exert our power while we're in charge, has decided we're going to exert our power while we're in charge, and said that by September we'll have a new justice.
Another one, because they didn't confirm Garland or whatever back when Trump first came in, so to think of this as their second, No,
he didn't get Garland, but he got Gorsuch, so he got one.
No, I'm saying they didn't confirm Merrick. Like, that wasn't their motherfucker. Like, this will be like their second attempt.
Oh yeah, no, you're talking about the guy that Obama picked, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they held that up and tied that in red tape until they basically made that man quit. Yeah,
which was pretty nightmarish, and now they get round 2 to pick another one, which ought to concern many of us.
Well, the good thing is that we have one Republican kind of holding the line, so to speak, on that, and I need to Look up her name. I think it is. Was it Susan Collins who said that? I think it was Susan Collins who's on the committee to vote for the next Supreme Court justice. Openly said that she won't vote for anybody who's actively willing to get rid of Roe versus Wade. She wants somebody who is willing to keep it. I don't know how, how true that is, or if she's going to stick to her guns. But you have to hope. You looking at the lay of the land, they need one Republican to say no on this committee, and the likelihood of that happening to anything that Trump wants these days is kind of slim to none.
I think it's a good reminder, at least, that the Supreme Court is the thing and it matters. Because as much as we talk about the president, like Supreme Court decisions have incredible impacts to society writ large. Because, I mean, the decisions on those laws, on those cases, I should say, matter greatly. I don't know why. It's a question like, why is there this big desire to get rid of Roe versus Wade? Like, what is the motivation for that?
Morality, in particular, religious morality.
I mean, it can't just be so you can like outlaw abortions. Like, that's
it's religious morality. Yeah, they outlaw abortion because it appeases the base that they go for, to say, hey, we got rid of this like thing that's against God for you guys. That's one of the things, because there are plenty of GOP people who have used abortion to their advantage. Let's not pretend like that's not a reality.
I mean, it certainly is an issue.
But the public, it's for the swaying of public opinion and for the appeasement of the base. Hell yeah, we'll get rid of abortion because we'll show that we're good Christians and we fight for life and all the other like moral high ground platitudes that I can manipulate and use to trick your dumb ass into voting for me because you think I'm a decent person just because I feel the same way you do about this issue. That's bottom line what it is.
It's super American, by the way, to impose that type of stuff on everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Like those of us who aren't religious. But whatever.
Yeah. No. Seriously. Like, did I ever tell you about the story while I was coming from work? It's someplace I work downtown, and I had caught the subway to and from home. And in front of the Smithsonian subway station where I was going in, there were these people, like you could tell they were uber zealot religious people, screaming about abortion. But they weren't just screaming about abortion. They had billboard, like, I won't say billboard like, but you ever see, do you guys have like public transportation down there in your city? I know not every city has it. That's why I asked.
I mean, there's like buses. I
guess.
guess.
Okay, but that's why I wanted to get to bus stops. You ever notice how bus stops have those like big ads sitting at the stop sometimes if they have a seated spot?
Sure.
They had these posters that size, and all these posters were pictures of fetuses, dead fetuses, along with their picket signs talking about this is what you monsters want and all of this. They're screaming at people walking by, and I'm like sitting there, and I'm like, again, this is in front of the Smithsonian website, and for those who are oblivious to what the Smithsonian is, one, where the fuck you been? Two, Smithsonian is basically all the different museums, the very famous museums people come to DC to see. People bring their kids to see these. So it's me, parents with their kids, all walking to and from, back and forth in front of these horrendous pictures of dead fetuses being screamed at by these uber religious people, talking about God's retribution and why we're all going to hell because we support this. and shit like that. It's like, yeah, nah. They know who they're appealing to. These are the people who, again, we've seen it happen with the Trump thing. They came out the bear when you found somebody who could appeal to their ridiculous, religious, radical, dumbass like thoughts. And this is why Roe versus Wade, if it gets overturned, it's a huge win for them because their constituents and their like base is going to go nuts because we finally did something right. We finally put God where he belongs. We finally like made this right. Seriously, you think if you laugh?
No, I mean it was just a dark statement.
Why you fucking be framed?
It was just. I guess I laughed just because I was overwhelmed by how dark the statement. We finally put God where he belongs.
It's what they utilize though. God first. God doesn't like this. We gotta put God. No, I'm telling you, that's how it's going to be framed, and this is how they're going to win, like whatever elections in the future, because this is what they want. This is how they, because they know their base is stupid enough to believe in that type of rhetoric.
So I remember passing through. I guess it must have been CNN stuff earlier, and I think it was a woman who had written a book on the matter, and she was making the point that like, Roe versus Wade didn't just allow for abortions in that sense; that had other effects as far as LGBT rights, women's rights, maybe some race stuff. Like I can't remember the exact point she was knocking down on, but she was making the point that it is not just used purely for the sake of abortion, and to reduce it to that is dangerous because that's not the only thing getting rid of it would get rid of.
Mm-hmm. No, but going back to that guy on CNN, I forget his name, and I wish I didn't because his rant was fantastic. I loved it. And it was very, very poignant too. People laugh and try to poke fun at how, quote unquote, over the top he was about how like, yeah, Roe versus Wade is going to be gone. But, expanding on his point, what was it?
Jeffrey Toobin?
Yeah, Jeffrey Toobin, yes. To expand on Toobin's point, though, is that it's not just about Roe versus Wade. Anything that the zealot right or just the conservative base feel like they could use to appeal to the zealot right and to frame themselves in a positive manner to the masses, they're going to get rid of. That includes gay rights. Why not? If you have a loaded Supreme Court, why not bring to the Supreme Court and fast track a decision on gay marriage? Why not fast track the whole immigration thing to the fucking Supreme Court? Because you're going to get it. You're going to get what you want now.
Yeah, dark.
Again, the Hitler reference. This is what Hitler did. Hitler seeded his fucking government with people that he knew would institute the types of policies and mandates that he wanted.
Yeah, it's
and if you can do that with the Supreme Court, which is supposed to be the last bastion of truth, justice, and the American way, that place where if you have a fighting chance of having your rights live, you go to, will now just become the seat of power for that base.
I think that's a very terrifying thing about him, right? Is that he attacks every institution. He goes at the Supreme Court, or our judicial branch, where he's going at them, trying to do whatever he can with them. He's attacking businesses. He's attacking media. Everything, every pillar that this country stands on, he's knocking away at each one of them. Not just within the confines of the executive, but all over. He's trying to spread his influence, and in some cases being somewhat successful, which is insanely alarming because I don't think a lot of us notice how much power he is wielding, and it increases, not decreases with him. poisoning the well everywhere. So we're all drinking that poison water. If we were ever going to be like taken over, it seems like this is the way you might do it.
Yeah.
As stupid as he is, I mean, what he's doing has an effect. And our allies aren't going to save us because they're mad.
Yeah, because he's pissing them the fuck off with his mandate to NATO before he goes to meet with NATO. He goes to NATO and tells them that you need to take more responsibility and finance more in defenses for NATO because we're not going to do it anymore. Dude, like he's trying to turn this country into a severely isolationist, fascist regime.
There goes another one of our pillars, our global partners.
Yeah.
And if you want to argue that you want them to pay a little more, that's one thing, but there's a way to do it without being an asshole.
Without threatening them, yeah.
Perfect word, threaten. He's always threatening our allies instead of like talking to them like they're our allies. Which at some point they're going to stop being our allies because they're going to be done with that shit. And they probably would already be more inclined to do that if, I mean, like I said, we're fairly well intertwined because of our trade system and stuff. If they didn't have to be, I think you'd find them a lot less accepting of this bullshit. And they're already not very accepting of it now.
Well, yeah, because you're starting to notice that even with the intertwining of the trade thing, especially in particular with the tariffs, you're seeing a lot more pushback from these countries when it comes to Trump and his, rantings and ravings. They're kind of not taking this lying down like they I guess like he hopes they would. They're actually working actively and they're being vocal about how wrong this is, and they're not backing down. It's like you look at Trudeau when he was saying about the tariffs and stuff like that. He's not backing down. Merkel, even though she has her own problems within her country, she's not backing down. Macron, he definitely isn't backing down. He's coming over here. He came over here and told Trump he ain't shit to his face in front of fucking Congress. Like, these people aren't backing down. This isn't post World War II, situation anywhere more where everybody's kind of beholden to the United States because you have this one big power in Russia that, while Russia still has a way too much influence today, had the type of influence where they could literally take over the world. And the United States was the last bastion of defense for them. It was like we were the holding line that kept Russia in check. It's not that type of world no more. They're not beholden to us to protect them, to comfort them, to keep them safe, and to keep them, viable. World economics has gotten to a point now where we're just one of the integral parts that have a significant enough influence to be paid respect to, but it's not like there's nothing that can be done to shift, especially with countries like China constantly courting other countries and being willing to take on debt and make promises and deals to have people, use them to survive off. We're not in that position where we are the biggest bargaining chip on the table. And we can just basically, throw our nuts on the table and say, here, come to us. You want to. You know what I mean? We ain't big dicking like that no more.
So are you saying the trade war is not working, or that it's not easy to win a trade war?
I'm saying we've lost already. We lost when we started it.
So we mentioned, the idea that this immigration thing was a crisis of their own making. So is the trade war. Like, there was no reason to do this. It's not like we were already in the midst of a trade war and he just made it worse or continued it or failed to stop it. I mean, he just kind of his own volition started this trade war, despite everybody else saying no, we don't want this. I remember, I think it was first when he started with those tariffs on the steel and shit. Everybody said no. This is stupid. This is not a good idea. This is going to hurt America. And he just said yes and does it anyway. And now we're dealing with this shit with Canada, fucking Germany, I guess, France. Like, we talked about being in this trade war, and I don't understand why we're even having this conversation. There was no need for it.
No.
At all. Like, at worst, you could say, like, maybe, you know, to people's point, like, yeah, you know, China isn't fair with some of the ways they do stuff. Fine. But you handle that with everybody. As a group, you have to handle that. You can't just Americanize America all over everybody's ass in the global stage like that. It doesn't work, as he's failing to learn. Like, I don't know. Tell me, like, why are we in this trade war situation right now? Why?
From his logical standpoint, America is unfairly having to deal with certain things economically across the world. We're basically getting cheated financially in these trade agreements that we have now. Simply put, they're taking advantage of the kindness of our previous leaders that quote unquote allowed them to get away with getting over for cheap. We're losing money, quote unquote, because of the things that Obama and them have done. You know, in vain of trying to be fair. Instead of being fair to us, we've been totally unfair to ourselves while letting them walk all over us.
Perfect reasoning? Never mind. I welcome the trade war, though. I mean, you know, I'm pretty sure our GDP has been going up forever. But
yeah, mind you, looking at all the economic stats over the years, clearly there has not been any issue with the way things have gone. Any financial issues that have happened within the United States generally has been internal, and it's had no reflection on our international trade. Because being the largest importer in the world, you're going to spend a lot of money because you need a lot of shit. That being said, we also profit a lot because we have some of the loosest laws. As much as we like to try to frame like we're bad against businesses, like he tries to do, there's some very loose laws. I remember I was reading an article on Microsoft about how, like, they only pay something to the tune of hundreds of thousands in taxes on their damn near $100 billion industry because they're allowed to shelter their taxes in foreign governments to where they only have to like pay taxes on, I think, 2% or something ridiculous, some ridiculously low percent of their profit a year. And that's partially because this country allows you to have enough offshore interests to avoid high tax brackets. This was before. This is the fucking funny thing is this is before Paul Ryan's whole "we need to reinvent taxes for the country" thing. Companies were getting away with this shit already under Obama, under Clinton, under everybody, all these people. This was something that has been a persistent thing that we've allowed companies to get. So it wasn't like it was a politically motivated thing. Now, yeah, more taxes had to be paid for companies inside the United States under Obama, especially if you went over $250,000, you had to actually pay a regular tax rate. There was no cut for that up to a certain point. No problem with that. But at the end of the day, these larger companies were still getting away with highway murder because they were sheltering their companies anyway, their holdings, their offices, and things like that in these foreign governments that were very lenient. So they didn't pay a lot on taxes anyway. So what was wrong with that? Nothing. The same thing with this trade war. These companies weren't suffering or weren't having any issues. No company was sitting here making this outcry about this shit. And it's clearly evident when you see companies like Harley Davidson, the largest distributor of motorcycles in the United States, tell you, I'm sorry, we got to go, bruh. What you're doing is hurting us now because we weren't hurting before.
I mean, it would be one thing if it was just a mean-spirited way to do even better than we already were. But it's not even that. It's going backwards. It's not helping our businesses. Yeah. I mean, maybe there's some like minor pockets where it helps a little bit, but overall, it's still going to be pretty damning to us.
Yeah. No, it's nonsensical. It's nonsensical. And it only has to be my only thing is this has to be self-motivated in some ways. Somehow there's something that benefits him or someone that he's on retainer to. Because this does not benefit the American economy as a whole. So how is he coming up on this? How is he making money? That's what I want to know.
I mean, I think that's a good question because, again, I ask why we're doing this, and I'm somewhat joking, but really, why are we doing it? Like, he does certain things that would look good to his base, makes him look better, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure when his base is feeling that kick in their wallet's ass, it's not going to look good. So, like, what does he gain? Again, multiple situations. He's always walking ass first into these dumb situations. This fucking thing with the kids at the border was not that big of a problem until he decided to just make it worse. This trade war shit, I don't remember any of us talking about this a couple years ago because it didn't exist.
No.
He's just introducing massive problems for no reason, not even for his own benefit. I don't see how he benefits from doing this shit.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it has to be some secret like business thing that benefits his businesses or someone that he's,
I have to hope so because
he owes a favor with. That's the only reason I could think because it's not helping.
I don't want to believe he's just that stupid. It's not even just being stupid because it would be one thing to say he's stupid, but all the other less stupid people keep telling him that these are bad ideas before he goes ahead and does them.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's just in this vacuum and, poor little me, I don't really know stuff, but I'm trying my best. Like,
I guess I kind of try to make it seem it's weird to say this, but I try to bring reason to it by framing it as this is benefiting him in some way that's more personal. And that's why we don't understand it because we don't understand the personal dynamic that goes through. The fact that this man is like very, very adamant on keeping his business information away from us.
Show us your
taxes. Makes me think that I don't really care about seeing his taxes, but I feel like the reason that it's such a big deal with him is basically because if he did, we'd start discovering that he's got some type of deals going on that he doesn't want us to know.
I mean, I think the scary truth that we're all just avoiding because we're so uncomfortable with it is he's some sort of Russian sleeper agent that's been activated. And he's just going off his programmed orders to destroy the country.
And again, it sounds like a joke, but it's also something that could be very, very true at this point. Because with all the batshit saying shit that's gone on since he's become president, what theory isn't without credibility? Is without credibility.
I mean, how else do you explain the insane? Yeah. Again, I don't understand why he's doing it. I've had people, I've looked at it in life, and they do some dickish things, but I can at least understand why they did it.
Yeah.
They stood to benefit. They looked better. There was some fucked up rationale to doing it. I look at him and I'm just like, we're telling you it's stupid. You do it, and it proves to be stupid, and you keep doing it.
He's the worst type of supervillain. Because it's like no matter what you say to him, he's going to go along with a bad plan.
Except he succeeds, though. So.
And that's the biggest problem. It's like we have the worst superhero in the world. Like, name an inept superhero. That's us, huh?
Name an inept superhero?
Yeah.
Gold balls? I don't know.
Yeah. No, good choice. He's like fucking... Okay, name a stupid like villain that seems to succeed. And there's our framing right there.
I don't know. I don't want to play this game.
I do, because I'm trying to figure out how we are gold balls and he is this like villain that dumbs up on his success.
There's no villains like that. You're always supposed to stop the bad guy. The bad guy is supposed to lose.
But this bad guy does not lose. He doesn't. No.
That's the problem with the analogy. It's usually the hero wins. So. But Black, I gotta tell you, we don't have any heroes.
I guess he's the hero then. He seemingly win. Shit.
Come on, Mueller, just give us something. Please explain this. It's one of the greatest.
I'm with everybody else. Could you hurry up and wrap this up, please? Find something now and just get rid of it.
Even if you don't have enough to solidify the impeachment.
I'm all in favor of fabricating in this case right now, because god damn it. Jeez, we need help.
Hell, this travel ban thing that like sent all of America into a tizzy and had to get the Supreme Court's attention. What's the point of this shit? Like, even the things he's trying to address, because I remember saying like the things he's doing don't make any sense. They have no benefit. No, take a step further back. The shit he's trying to address does not exist in the first place. This massive influx of criminality from the South does not exist. This butt fucking all these businesses are feeling from foreign trade does not exist. So even the problems he's providing stupid solutions for are non-existent in the first. I literally cannot conceive of a stupider situation than this.
Yeah, no.
To come up with idiotic solutions to non-problems is the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, no, none of it is
which ultimate question. Explain his base to me, Black.
I don't even try to think about like his base and what it is about him that is so appealing to him, other than they're willingly being blind. It's like that dude that I told you that I know who he's Armenian and he's a Trump supporter. Like his family's from Armenia. He supports Trump. Later, you find out part of the reason of his support is because Armenia is a Christian country in the middle of the Middle East that kind of gets flack from Muslims. So, sure, I understand your angst and your happiness over this Muslim ban shit because you hate Muslims. Having to deal with that through your life. It's stupid. It's childish. You need to grow the fuck up and get over that shit. But there is some understanding to it. That being said, it makes no sense because you being Middle Eastern, Trump's going to consider you Muslim anyway. And so is his base. So maybe you get over by being quote unquote one of the good ones for a while. But not everybody's going to know that about you, and you're going to get the same shit because of your skin tone, which is part of why this whole travel ban thing makes no sense. Because while it's an attack at Islam, it's also just an attack on color, or race. Because let's be honest, most Americans assume everybody from the Middle East is Muslim anyway. Even like more progressive people I know tend to think that it's all Islam over there, even though brightest day Israel with the Star of David shining upon this flag is sitting there. You know what I mean? It's like, so.
No, I think that's because a lot of them, even more progressive people, tend to think of being Muslim as a race. So
right,
it's kind of easy to do that.
Right.
Like, when I hear a lot of people complain about like anti-Muslimness, anti-Muslim bigotry, I guess, they're not talking about like any disdain for the religion or its ideas. They're just like, you're being mean to this group of brown people from the Middle East.
Yep.
There's a strong conflation there, so I'm not surprised that we have that issue.
Yeah, the point about dudes, like, yeah, you're a brown person. People are gonna assume that you are a Muslim brown person, and you're gonna get shit and all that too. So how are you supporting this? But no, it's just so his base is very, very weird, and I feel like they're only in it because I think that he tapped into a group of people who have a lot of prejudice and a lot of angst and anger towards people who are not like them, who, hate to keep bringing it back to that point, people, but in a Hitler-esque, Nazi-esque type of way, feel the need to blame their issues, their struggles, their problems on particular groups. And you have this guy who's coming out, and whether it be directly sometimes or indirectly, has framed this image of himself as, I'm with you on that. We'd be better off if it wasn't because of these people type feeling that you have. And people like to be appealed to, and people like to know that there's someone out there like them, especially in a position of power. If the most powerful person in the country feels the same way you do, well, shit, how can you not validate my feelings?
I guess my confusion is, or I guess the question is, what will he have to do to lose them? Because a lot of us said things like, well, these people were suffering from economic issues. Yeah, that he's going to make worse. So what will have to happen?
He'd have to become sensible. He'd have to be rational. He would have to have some liberal thoughts. He'd have to be inclusive. He would have to denounce certain things. He pretty much would have to turn himself into Obama.
I don't feel like that would stop his base, which I guess is really
not going to stop his base, but it would stop him, and it would slow him down. Because, again, we've lived in a society for, I want to say, at least a good 30 years. I'm going to be generous over history. I want to say, for like, even with the issues that we've had over the last 30 years, in comparison to previous decades, like the 70s, and going further back in the history of this nation, the 80s through now kind of have been a much better society to live in, as the idea of progressive thought and liberal thought, however you want to frame it, but just general human decency growing to a point where people demand certain things, and don't necessarily sit well with certain type of behavior has made it hard for his base. Because it's just like, think about pre-internet days being a racist in America. You don't have a platform to spew that, especially in a society where, for the most part, as much as people rail on liberalism, it's a pretty liberal society, or at least it's a tolerant society, where even if you don't feel like, comfortable with certain races or sexuality and things like that, we've at least cultivated a, society where we're more accepting and willing to quietly, quote unquote, deal with it in this manner. And being taken from a time where, like, the 60s and before, where, white power and racism, sexual classes being like the woman stays at home while the man goes out and makes the money and type like that. That doesn't sit well. Even if you agree, nobody really wants to talk about that publicly anymore, as they did back then. Nobody wanted to champion that up until this point. So if you were that person that felt that way, you kind of felt, somewhat marginalized, but you kept quiet anyway because you didn't want no static and you didn't want to deal with it because you knew that you were one of the few voices that felt like that way. But this guy has come around and has encouraged it. He's embraced it. He wants you to be that way because that's his form of honesty. That's him being quote unquote real and things like that. And
no more political correctness.
Yeah, exactly. That you hear that all the time. How people like now, the social justice warriors dig and all of that. He's now building that platform to where it's not just people randomly saying stuff on the internet. No, people are saying this stuff publicly and on the internet now. Again, we're about to host a rally of people who feel like white people are being oppressed because they weren't able to do what they wanted to do in Charlottesville, which was be racist.
I'm curious, like, how big that rally is going to be. You should attend. Just put on a nice shirt. I don't know what they're going to be wearing. A nice hoodie, guess it's cold out.
It's going to be in the middle of summer, sir. No. Don't get me shot. Anyway, don't give me a heat stroke either. Jeez. But
I'm trying to get you some new experiences,
But no, but yeah, we're in that point where people are screaming at too, like white people all of a sudden now feel oppressed. And it's not like all white people, it's racist white people. That's the thing. That's the funny thing about it. It's like, I don't know any like sensible white person that feels oppressed.
I mean, because they're sensible, I guess they're not generally oppressed in any extreme sense.
Yeah.
Which I guess that really lends itself to the Trump family strategy that I was mentioning earlier about like making yourself seem like a victim, because they're also very good at it too. I mean, you bullied us.
Oh, he has shown them the way.
But to be fair, we're also falling for it all the time, so fuck us.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess the main question is there anything possible that could dislodge his base? Because I remember, early on really from the elections, past him being sworn in and all that stuff since then, the question always came up like, what would he have to do to piss off his base? And you were trying to imagine something that might piss them off. And And yet I feel like the question gets harder and harder as time goes by because he does more and more, and it still does not seem to dislodge his base. So it's like, even the things that they care about, like the fucking jobs, when he fails on that too, I don't feel like that's going to dislodge his base, and that's maddening.
No, because it's funny because a lot of the things that he's done that have I feel like paying attention, the things that he's done that I think even bothers them, they kind of just button up and be quiet and just try to act like, let's just let this blow over. And kind of like him, what he does too is, okay, sometimes he'll be quiet about certain things and try to let it blow over until he can find another point of attack. It's just like, a lot of people were kind of quiet over the kids thing, but then the Sarah Huckabee Sanders thing came up, and you notice how they all erupt because they finally have something that they can now scream at and say, and hopefully they can scream loud enough to divert the fact that, yeah, we voted for a man who does some pretty fucked up, monstrous things.
It is concerning. I was looking to see if I have any notes here for other shit. I didn't really look into it, but I did hear that Trump told Macron they should leave the EU.
Yeah.
Which is, why does this guy hate the idea of like
unity and cooperation and community, and
just hates that idea in general. I mean, fuck, even the NAFTA shit. There's another thing too where it's like he's trying to fuck this thing over, and that's something that really helped us with our immigration issue, was making them a little stronger. It was in our best interest to do it, because why the fuck we did it, and it helped address the types of problems he thinks he's fixing and that his base is so freaked out about. Like, I don't want to look into my little grandchildren's faces and tell them that the reason we fucked up the country is because we provided stupid solutions to problems that did not exist. That's all.
Yeah.
I can't look into their little faces and say that.
Yeah, no. Because, like, here's another example how stupid he is. His framing of tomorrow, which is 4th of July. Now, when you think of 4th of July, we've talked about this before, but just in brief, I want you to give your synopsis of why do we celebrate the 4th of July? Or why we're supposed to, I should say, because I'm sure you don't celebrate it like I don't necessarily celebrate it.
I'm not celebrating it.
Yeah, it's like, again, I celebrate the day off.
I guess I don't know why we ought to, other than, I mean, most people use it as a time to like remember fallen soldiers and blah, blah.
Why?
I don't know. I feel like we have other holidays for that.
That's what this fool is doing, talking about tomorrow we gather to celebrate the courageous men and women who make freedom possible. 4th of July has nothing to do with the military.
I mean, you say that, but I feel like that is what is often celebrated.
But it's not a military holiday. It's not a celebration. It is the day that we declared independence from England. That's it. That is all. That is what it is. What the fuck does this have to do with the troops? Because it wasn't the American military that was doing all of this fighting for freedom. It was the American people. Citizens were making the backbone of that army. Yes, did we have standing military people? Sure, we had military figures like George Washington who used citizens to help fight the war. Our standing army wasn't shit at that time. We had no real army. We just had the people who decided we're not going to fight for Britain because it was the British army at first anyway. So no. No.
I mean, you could argue those people are a precursor to our armies, but the point I was just making was that I don't think Trump is unique in his focus on the military.
Like, again, this is why I need y'all, like, as a history person, I'm totally offended because you don't even know what you're celebrating. Like, even the person who doesn't celebrate it knows what the fuck he's supposed to be celebrating. What does that say?
I don't know what to say. Like when I think of
damn
if I was there to ever like celebrate the holiday, I always because a lot of people like not just to think of the troops, they might have like a barbecue, shit like that. And I was like, I feel like if I was going to celebrate it, I might just I don't know talk about the ideas that this country is supposed to stand for, our freedoms and all that shit. Like
Yeah,
I
like
never
we
thought
should
too much about how I would
discussion,
celebrate.
like reminding each other why we celebrate this day, not fucking eating hot dogs and hamburgers and trying to blow our fingers off with
I think
fireworks.
that's really the reason I never celebrated because, well, for one, both my parents were from like Jamaica and stuff, so I don't know how inclined they would have been to celebrate it anyway. But whenever I looked at Americans celebrate it, it always seemed like just another excuse to eat. Like,
Yeah, it is. No, generally speaking,
eat and drink
American holidays are excuses to eat, drink,
and not go to work.
and not go to work. Seriously, or to provide gifts for each other.
Eat, drink, and spend. I guess this is the reason I've never been.
Honestly, I am thinking about going to Best Buy tomorrow because I want to see if they have a headset for my PS4 on sale. That's my only motivation for tomorrow.
That pre-tariff deal.
Like, hey, every Best Buy is doing a 4th of July sale. I want to see what they got.
Yeah,
go check and see if you can get your 4K TV. They have a lot on sale for that day.
I mean, a lot of people probably notice I don't really celebrate a lot of these holidays, and that is pretty much wise because there's no real meaning in a lot of them in the sense that, we are remembering this and blah, blah, blah. People just kind of make it what they want. Some people will think about the military, but most of you aren't even going to do that. You're just going to grab some beers, have a barbecue, and hang out, which I don't think you need to have a holiday for, but there you go.
You know what I find more hilarious about the way that Americans celebrate holidays, though, is that they find it funny that you're not going to do the quote-unquote traditional things for the holidays, which, again, what you're doing for the holiday is some bullshit anyway. But it's like leading up to tomorrow, the 4th, or however you want to frame it. So this is the podcast that's probably going to go up on the 4th. But leading to the 4th of July, what's the one question you always get? So what are you doing for the 4th? And when I say nothing, people look at me like, you ain't going to a barbecue? Like, I'm breaking tradition by not going to do something that literally has nothing to do with the holiday in the first fucking place.
I think what kills me more is like when they ask you what you're going to do, assuming you were going to do anything, wasn't it probably going to be a barbecue? Like, what does anybody? Maybe there's like a few fuckers that like, go to a beach or something.
Well, no, there's the other thing there. I was going to say there's the beach, and there's of course the traditional either going to shoot off or go watch fireworks be shot off. Because when because I get that a lot too. Like, aren't you going to see the fireworks? I'm like, no.
Oh, yeah.
Why aren't you going to see fireworks?
Yeah, I forgot this is a firework holiday.
Yeah, it's like, what? Oh, they've already started in my neighborhood. Last night I heard some. I'm sure in about 30 minutes while we're about to go to sleep, we're going to hear more. But tomorrow, oh my God, it's going to sound like we're in the middle of a fucking firefight.
I thought they were gunshots the first time. Because I remember hearing a bang a little while ago. I was like, somebody's shooting out there.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's just motherfuckers trying to blow themselves up with small munitions. Like,
I mean, why? Those don't even feel traditional to me because it makes it seem like it's something we've been doing for hundreds of years. Like, I never been.
Why is it fireworks? Was that like part of was that the signal that they posted the Declaration of Independence?
Maybe
they do it with fireworks because I thought they just put it on the door of Independent Hall.
Even just all
that was it.
The barbecue, the beer. Like, have we been doing this since we declared independence?
With Thomas Jefferson and Jefferson, Madison, Franklin, and I forget the fourth guy's name. I always forget the fourth guy's name. But when they finished it, they were like, beers on us, guys. Everybody bring out the hot dogs and fireworks. It's the Declaration of Independence. Yeah. Like, no.
That's the thing that kills me about traditions is like, I don't think a lot of them have been around as long as you guys seem to. Shameless thing, the fucking anthem thing in sports. It's not been around that long. Like, all this things
Early
you guys
mid
like
2000s, it was a contract signed by the NFL. It wasn't a tradition. Shut up.
really short memories.
Shut
Like, all
up.
this stuff you guys cling to have not been around in human history that long.
No.
Like, maybe they were there when like you were a kid, maybe for like a few generations, but most of the stuff you guys hold so sacred, you act like we've been doing them for thousands of years.
Yeah, like it
Most
is
of them
a
we have.
human tradition, and it's not. Somebody just found a good idea that everybody accepted and started to go along with it. Boom. Like, I don't mind the cookouts because I mean now I can't eat cookout food like I used to, but back in the no, I didn't mind the cookout. Shit, you want me to come over and eat your food and I don't have to pay for it, and I don't have to cook it, and I can take some home? Fine by me. I'll suffer your company as I fill my plate and then leave.
I guess you have a higher social threshold because I'd rather starve than be social. But
Oh, who said I was being sociable? I said I suffer their company. I wasn't necessarily being sociable.
I guess my point is I wouldn't even suffer their company.
Yeah, it's fine. You can
Like,
say-
if I could, like, if a friend asked me over to a barbecue, and my first thing would be like, is it like a drive-through barbecue? Like,
trust me, you learn really quickly to find spots where nobody will bother you. Or at the least, find people who you're willing to tolerate enough.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I certainly am not gonna like go out there and knock over anybody's barbecue. I'm just saying, like,
Shit, I think that should be the tradition. This country is built
barbecue
on
dipper.
going and taking over people's shit and taking it from them. So why can't we do that at barbecues?
Roll up in there with guns and just like grab a fucking drum leg and be out. Just,
Like, honestly, that should be the Thanksgiving tradition. Hey, we're gonna come and ask you for your food and help us so we won't like perish. And then eventually I just come back and take everything from you. But for now, I just want,
Thanksgiving is another one. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what Thanksgiving should be.
we celebrate it.
I'm gonna take your food out of the guys that I need your help, and then later, once I'm on my feet, I'll just come and fucking take everything from you.
Yeah.
That's what we
I
did.
was just saying, like, my family celebrates it, and I can remember a few times where my mom was like, let's talk about what we're thankful for, but let's be honest, it's just an excuse to eat food. Like,
Yeah, it is. It is.
which I never understand why everybody's so shocked when I don't celebrate holidays. I'm like, you don't celebrate them either. Right?
Yeah, no, nobody likes to hear that shit because I would rather stay home for all holidays. Love my family, love my friends, but I work enough that when I get a day off, I'm very, very happy to have that to chill and only spend it with people I want to. Like if I were married or something like that or in a relationship, sure, I spend it with that person, but we don't necessarily have to do traditional Thanksgiving stuff. And it's funny because one of my friends, his family is so cool, is that while they do traditional Thanksgiving stuff, over the years they've gotten to the point where they were like, you know what? Do we really need to do this? What movie is out? Let's go see Star Wars. Like they would legit go see when Star Wars was out. They legit went and saw that. For Thanksgiving. It's like, yeah, no, I don't need to have mom in the kitchen all day. Like, let's just fucking find something.
That's hard work, yeah. I mean,
it's like if we want to spend time together, let's go do something fun for everybody.
Why put them through all that shit? Especially because for all the effort, my mom put in through whatever number of 4th of July barbecues we had. I don't remember us ever saying shit about America. So what was the point?
Nah, it's honestly, most holidays have nothing to do. And I'm sure the one that bothers you the most and that bothers me the most too is Christmas.
Didn't bother me when I was getting my shit.
But you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I like getting this stuff. Sure, everybody likes getting gifts. Who don't like getting gifts? That being said, it bothers me that that's what you're expected all the time, every time, to spend gobs of money. And it's not because I'm cheap. I'm a very charitable person. But I just find it weird that we put this precedence on, the gift thing because the birth of Christ demands that we give you that PlayStation that you've always wanted? Question mark. Okay.
I think I found it much less offensive once I started ignoring the Christy part, because I was like once I just acknowledged, because we did celebrate Christmas in my house and stuff. It was like I just kind of acknowledged that the point of the holiday was the gift shit. So I found it less offensive, because to me that was the purpose. It was just like an excuse to buy toys, which, for better or worse, is the purpose to me. So when I see people say that Jesus,
and I can't say that I could do that, because people that I've known over the years sometimes would straight up use the Christ thing as the reason why you should be spending all your money. Because the 3 wise men came bearing gifts, and
so that's it. It's because my mom is fairly Christian, right? But like I don't think she forced it on us too much when we were kids. So like I've never heard a family member make this point that we have to buy gifts because it's Christ's birthday. I think that's the reason I'm able to like let it go, because I just didn't have that type of influence.
Yeah, no, I had some people do that. Most of it was like, you're selfish if you don't do that, and you're not a good person if you're not being sure.
You're not a good Christian man.
Yeah, which bothered me, because it's like, I'm broke. What do you mean I'm selfish? I can't be selfish if I don't have it to spend. Like, leave me a little bit. No, that's not.
I mean, shit.
That's why as I gotten older, I told people, don't give me nothing. If you want to give me something, then give me cash, because I don't feel like you need to give me anything at all, including the cash. It's okay. Because generally speaking, if it's something I really, really want, I'm going to buy it anyway. Yeah. So what the fuck you can't, it's nothing you can't really do for me. I'm sorry. I appreciate the sentiment, but shit. Just say Merry Christmas and move the fuck on. God damn.
I can tell my mom got fairly upset when I was an adult, because like I was already not very desirous before. Like when she asked me for something, I just like pick a random game that I was already saving up for. But when I became an adult, I was just like, I already bought it. I'm good.
But that's another problem I have with it too, is because I know me. I know my habits. I like PC stuff. I like video game stuff. I like geeky shit. So what I'm going to pick isn't going to appeal to you. Furthermore, it's probably going to be kind of expensive. Like, hey, I want a new video card. I'm not going to ask somebody to give me a new video card for Christmas. But if you keep asking me what I want, well, what I want is a new video card. Then you're going to get mad at me when I tell you, it's like, yep, this is why I buy it myself, because I know it's expensive. And I wouldn't ask anybody that. But you're sitting here asking me exactly what I want. Well, that is what I want.
I mean,
so what?
Basic logic.
Stop asking me.
Basic logic dictates that if you want something and you don't already have it, there's probably a reason for that. And that it's difficult to get. In this case, because it's expensive.
Yeah, because I don't need underwear. I don't need socks. I can get that shit. I just bought some just recently anyway. Like this, if it's within my means of getting, I'm gonna get it already. If it's not, I'm gonna save towards it, or I'm gonna wait until I got the means to get it. Because I know you're not gonna get it for me, and the things that you're gonna get for me is not gonna be something I want. So why don't we just cut the bullshit?
Sure.
Like, why are we even like bothered with this thing? Like holidays, I swear to God, they're so kind of useless. Except for the day off. I appreciate the 10 days off a year that you give me, that you pay me to be off. But other than that, yeah.
I mean, they're fairly pressuring. Like, I remember being in a relationship at one point where it's just like Christmas, birthdays, Valentine's. It's like, and it's not even like you can just get a random thing. It always has to be like meaningful. It's like, why? How about when I have the idea?
Jesus, don't you know I love you? Isn't my heart enough?
Why should I be compelled to come up with ideas? Why can't I just do stuff when I have the idea?
Well, and that's another thing too. It's like you're required. That's the thing that's always bothered me, is that I hate the feeling of mandate. Like, I don't mind doing something for someone on Valentine's Day if I'm in a relationship or I'm dating someone, but I hate the idea that this is some mandatory part of the relationship. It's like,
Sure.
no, especially knowing the person I am in relationships where I'll do random things and give nice things just because I want to. So I don't think I should be mandated because of the day to do these things. Because clearly I don't have a problem with doing it. So why are you fucking like making like pressuring me to do it? Like,
maybe I don't got any money right now, bro.
yeah, like sometimes the 14th of February falls on a Tuesday. Payday's on Friday.
Right? Like, it's
How
just
like seriously.
Some of these days are inconvenient, bro. Like,
yeah, no, it's real like that. No, chill.
Like I didn't get like my mom like something one of the Christmas or Tuesday pass or something because like just payday time. Like I didn't have the money around that regular Christmas time. So
yeah, I'm broke. I don't mean to be. It's not like I planned it this way. It's broke.
See, if I was doing this of my own volition, I would have done it when I had some fucking money. So this wouldn't be a problem. So.
Right, like jeez, people. But happy 4th of July, everybody. I guess enjoy the holiday after
everybody. Asses red, white, and blue, and shake it for America. I don't know.
Yes, wear the American flag, which is sacrilegious, to do because according to the handbook of how to properly treat the flag, you shouldn't do that shit because that's disrespectful.
The number of flag merch I just saw when I was walking through the store earlier. It's
funny because I had in mind to go to Walmart to look for something today too, and I was like, nah, bro. I'm sure that's all over the saw.
It's just creepy to me. It's creepy. Stop fetishizing the flag. It's a beautiful flag, but like, because somebody asked me earlier, like, what I'm doing for the 4th of July, right? And I get so sick of those questions. So when they asked me, I said, I'm probably gonna have sex with the flag for the day. Just like stop responding. Which is probably not nice, but you get tired of that fucking question.
Yeah, you do. You definitely do. Like, leave me alone. Like, it's all. Yeah.
So I want to buy myself a nice flag and fuck it. It's gonna be great.
At least you're not kneeling, which means that you're somewhat patriotic. As long as you don't kneel, you're good.
No doggy style. We're doing this missionary. I don't know. Nobody's on there.
You stand for attention in all ways. Stand.
Oh God. I'm gonna end up in a federal prison.
I'll take the flat because I'm the influencer. That's why. You just pull a Michael Cohen on me.
I mean, technically, I started it when I said I was gonna fuck the flag for Independence Day.
No, you're under the influence of a very individual. So,
I had an innocent mind.
Yeah, until you met me. So.
It was corrupt.
Exactly. That's all you have to do. Again, the tradition of Trumpism: pass blame, don't take responsibility.
My buddy pulled up any of my internet activity prior to just.
Like, did I Google fucking a flag properly? No. You're good if you did.
No protection.
All right, so was there anything else major that happened in this exasperating week? I think that's pretty much we hit the major points.
I would say major. There's probably a bunch of interesting things that.
No, there was a bunch of interesting things because what was it I just saw on CNN? That they were talking about. They were talking about the Supreme Court justices, of course. Trump's picks, and I just lost my remote, so I can't go back to CNN. Oh well. I think that's someone telling me I don't need to be watching CNN because it's just going to anger me even more than I'm already been.
He's announcing it next week, right?
He's trying to because he's been vetting hard and meeting with them.
Is there a reason he can't announce it now if he knows?
I don't think he knows because he's still meeting with people.
Okay. Because like when I heard them say that,
said like he met with 2 people today.
Okay. When I heard them say that, my first thought was like, is this another fucking Trump thing where he has to make it feel like TV?
Yeah, I think that's part of it too. I think he needs the drama of, yeah. the suspense. Like, who's it gonna be? Like, we already know the like pricks that you're gonna pick from already anyway, so you're not like there's no mystery. It's gonna be a jackass. The end. So,
you need to watch your mouth, bro, before one of your cases end up at the Supreme Court level.
It's fine. I just blame it on this. By the way, shameless plug. If you've never had it, you probably can't see it because the glare of the light is. God, that's really, really
Jack
bright
Daniels
for some reason. Yeah, Jack Daniels, Tennessee Honey. It's very, very good. It is like honey flavored whiskey. It's just the best.
So for those of you who drink,
yes, for those who, if you're not a teetotaler like my friend here,
I don't drink tea. That's a British shit. I'm American.
I don't know why it's called being a teetotaler. Weird. Like, who came up with that term?
I drink fucking soda. I don't drink soda either, but
See,
I actually had a soda for like the first time in like a year the other day when we were in Texas. I was like, well, I guess my daddy's going to shit for the week, so fuck it. Let's have a soda.
you should just be like, it's a holiday, and they'd be like, oh, sure. It seems to be the excuse for people to blow their diet. It's like, it's a holiday.
I gotta just acknowledge that, like, when I'm traveling, I don't have as much control as when I have to, like, when I can cook. So I just gotta give up.
Well, yeah, that's the problem with travel, though, because you don't have like access to healthy food like you want to.
One time I actually cooked for like the first few days of the trip, and I was like, yeah, this is harder. So
Yeah, no, it's very inconvenient. You're better off just either starving yourself or eating bad.
yes, but I don't think there's anything else too major.
Yeah, no. I think we're done with these shenanigans. 3 hours is long enough. Probably longer than that, because again, it was a lot of stuff going on this weekend.
Although we didn't start when we could have because of my technical issues.
If the liberals would have allowed them to like get net neutrality earlier, you wouldn't have had these problems.
Fucking obstructionist Dems.
Exactly.
All right.
Although I feel like that may be actually the problem now, because now that net neutrality is a thing, they can gate your internet experience. So shit.
I'm just not reading the email where they offer me a deal to get better.
Like, extra $20 and we won't fuck with your shit. What's it gonna be, bro?
Holding my shit ransom. I dig it. I respect it. Make that money.
Yeah, like, well, I guess one thing we didn't talk about was it's not really a point of discussion for me because it's kind of sad to talk about, but those reporters getting killed and now how they're politicizing it with the whole lowering of the flag bullshit.
I guess I missed that. What the fuck?
Well, when asked if he was going to lower the flags or when it came up, apparently Trump said he wasn't going to lower the flags.
No, the reporter's being killed. Like,
oh, you didn't hear about that? Here in Washington, D.C., this guy who had beef with the paper from, oddly enough, a case in which he was convicted of a crime. He felt like the paper framed him badly, and he vowed revenge. Well, he went and got his revenge as he walked through the Washington Gazette and started shooting. He wounded a couple of people, killed 5 reporters.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So,
That's
of course.
terrible.
Wait, are they really talking about Trump's grammar? Anyway, I need to stop watching CNN. But yeah, so after it happened, of course, they asked Trump for some reason if he was going to lower the flags for the people, and I guess he said no, and that started this big debate about it. And then he came out and was like, well, Obama lowered the flag for Whitney, but he didn't do it for Nancy Reagan, and which wasn't true, I believe. And it's just like he put foot in mouth further, and people have been railing on it. Now apparently the White House is backtracking. They did lower the flag or some shit like that, like nonsensical bullshit. that usually comes up with this administration. Because some things people just want to overhype, and then he does no favors himself by adding to fuel to a fire that should have never happened in the first place. I don't understand why he don't know how to just sometimes shut up. Because if he would sometimes shut up, he would make his detractors like look very stupid in getting out of sorts over certain things. Like seriously, this is what y'all want to complain about this man for? The fucking lowering of the flag for the victims? Not saying like, that's your personal preference, basically, if you think it's disrespectful or not. But it's not a key issue.
Was there some reason he should feel particularly compelled to do that? Not that I'm, trivializing those deaths, but a lot of people die. And the president does not have to lower the flag for all of them. So
your guess is as good as mine.
My best guess is the only reason they even brought that up is because of what an asshole he is to the press.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking too. Maybe if he was, that's what I was saying. Like the arguments that people make sometimes about him seem so nonsensical, but then he puts his foot in his mouth and makes it valid.
Correct. Otherwise, I would argue that you shouldn't be asking him that question anyway, because he doesn't have any true obligation to do it. But
yeah, no, and it's kind of a moot point, because the biggest issue is why the fuck is this man walking around with a shotgun, a convicted felon coming out of jail with a shotgun in his possession? You know what I mean? It's like y'all are missing the whole point. Not 5 people died because this felon has access to a gun. Hello, 1. Who the fuck let this fool out? 2. Who the fuck gave this guy a gun? You know what I mean? That's the issue.
I mean, it is certainly one of our weaknesses is we can't fucking focus on or even prioritize, I guess, is the better word.
No. Yeah, no.
Every offense is one that requires every ounce of energy.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Not serve us well. On that cheery, self-deprecating note.
Yes, thank you again for watching. We appreciate it. Glad to be back. We'll be back next week with more shenanigans. Hopefully, we'll have a less toxic show. I doubt it.
We'll talk about puppies and rainbows and unicorns.
Why not? Yeah, let's talk about puppies.
That'll be the fucking Christ.
What?
Fireworks.
That was what that was? Because I thought you had dropped something.
No.
Oh my god! I'm like, what the fuck is he banging for?
Oh, that sounded close as fuck.
Wow. All right, yeah, happy. Yeah, it's the beginning. God damn. I'm like, did he drop something? Did he bang on the desk? He's like, what the? Wow.
I feel like that shook the window. I don't know.
Yeah, no, like I heard that very clear. I thought you dropped something. It's a bell.
Nah, me, I'm perfect.
Damn. Holy shit. Oh, it's gonna be a beautiful holiday season. Anyway, happy 4th to you guys out there. Hope we have a happy, safe holiday. Don't blow your fingers off and all that shit. Don't overeat. It's hot outside, so find something inside to do, please. And that'll be it. So, any parting words or any suggestions before you want to go?
Don't blow up the fucking fireworks, man. That is upsetting to people. People have like mental issues. Animals hate that shit too. Stop being assholes, man. All right, eat your fucking barbecue and shut the fuck up. All right, as if these fireworks are helping you love America. Be a real patriot like me. Fuck your flag and shut up.
I mean, it is American tradition to just blow up shit for no reason. So
don't be a patriot like Black. He's not a patriot. Be like me. Make love to your flag, eat your barbecue, be quiet. God bless.
I think I want to be a patriot if that's what it means to be white.
God bless.
Oh, I'm good. I am so good. All right. All right, everybody. We're done with this foolishness. We'll holler at you next time. Peace.
Jesus, 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 Jesus.